Ladies and gentlemen, I am here and my cat literally just fucking attacked me. Ow! Ow, fuck! Why is he biting me? I need a second. Be right back. Holy hell, I really need to fucking uh cut the goddamn claws of my cat. What a fucking ravenous beast. Uh, yeah. No, the stream was supposed to be for today. I just overslept. Like I'm currently, I overestimated, I guess, my ability to wake up a little bit earlier. Because I'm changing. I'm basically changing my entire, rhythm and such. Because I will be taking up a job with a night shift, so I'm going to sleep later and waking up later. So yeah, just didn't expect to wake up so late. That's my bad. But yeah, the stream is at a little bit unusual day because today is like a national holiday in Belgium, so I have a day off, and uh, and then I have another day off, and then it's the weekend, and I'm like, might as well stream now, so you know. And I ran out of things to actually edit for the channel, so. Are you watching Genesis Rising and Homeworld 3 on the same day? That is the idea. So far, these are like the videos I want to react to. After Homeworld 3, I will decide if we're gonna go Pointless Hub or Ross's game Dungeon, I suppose. Also, a quick thing from last stream. Turns out I'm not the only one who had that golden sun boss attack living rent free in my head. Some dude uploaded a short spoiler free video of just that, which I found by searching Doom Dragon Cruel Ruin. Doom Dragon Cruel Ruin. Let me check that out, actually. I don't see any short. I don't see any shorts version, but I guess this will do. Let's see that shit. Whoa, that is. Oh my fucking god, that is 144p, man. What? That's the first hit that came out for me, so I don't know, man. Is that music? Okay, that's just his theme. But the sound effects team going fucking nuclear with that, holy. Good old 17-year-old footage. Oh yeah, kinda reminds me of. I saw this clip of Northern Lion. Fuck. Let me. Yeah, there we go.
You see the Costco guy?
I saw this clip of Northern Lion talking about like modern Pokemon because he only played like the old Pokemon games like Gen 1 and Gen 2, and then he was reacting to one of the Z moves in later games, and I was also not aware of this, and like Pokemon attacks now have fucking so much shit going on in their special moves.
Like this, man. Hang on, there's no sound. Oh my god. You're so lucky I had you muted. It was so loud.
Wait, I'm kinda in the way. Fuck it, I will just move myself like this and where is it? Transform. Flip horizontal, there we go.
So I don't know what the fuck Necrozma is to begin with, but then it's...
I also have no idea what Necrozma is. I'm assuming that's like a new legendary.
Unveiling its full force Z move. So I'm like, okay, what could it be? Maybe like a little bolt of electricity? Oh shit, it's the light that burns the sky. All right, just seems like a little Bahamut, like some kind of ray of electricity or something like that. No, it's a spirit bomb that summons the entire sum of energy on the planet, and it just goes... And then they send it this poor little Wingull, just gets caught in the event horizon, and then it's like 100
fucking level 9
nuclear bombs going off consecutively. Like, what are they doing, man?
And like, I don't know what the fuck the new Pokemon games are cooking, but that shit looks wild, man. And yeah, like, everybody in my chat is also old Pokemon heads, and they're like, Z moves? What the fuck are Z moves, man? And yeah, I mean, that's about fucking right. Hoenn is still new gen to me. This is wild. Kinda same. Yeah. I the last Pokemon game I played was Black One. I think Black One, or maybe I started Black 2. Like anything beyond that is a fucking mystery to me. Like there are those You know, the new forms of the Pokemon, of the old Pokemon now, like the Alolan version or fucking whatever, and the other, the Glacial or whatever the fuck. Necrozma is like Boo from DBZ fused with Shadow the Hedgehog. It's an absurd Pokemon. What game is he from though? He's not from Sword and Shield because like he's not from Sword and Shield because that fucking ridiculous like Sif from Dark Souls is the legendary there, and the other that has a face like a shield. And then the new ones have like bike legendaries that look fucking shit, in my opinion at least. I'm sorry to Pokemon fans out there, but the new generation legendaries just fucking suck. The ones where they ride them. And like before that was what? Sun and Moon, I think? Is he from Sun and Moon or something? I occasionally think about picking up the new games, but they just don't do anything for me when I look at them. The problem with the new games is we still don't have a game that is like... we still don't have a game that has like all of the... Like, imagine a game where you had all of the regions and all of the Pokemon in it. That would be cool, right? Like for old heads to go back to fucking Kanto and Johto, and like also experience the new shit in the same game. That would be cool, but they just ain't no fucking way they're doing that. Like it's crazy that the old games are. I think one of the old games is still the one where you can catch the most, like, different Pokemon from different generations. I think he's from Sun and Moon, I'm not sure. Plus, those might have had spin-offs that I'm not aware of, I don't know. Yeah. Remember when Ruby and Sapphire would have the world itself get messed up from the legendaries and you needed to stop them because the weather would kill everything? Where did that go? Yeah, that shit was crazy. Also, man, Team Magma and Team... the other guys, I completely forgot. They just wanted to kill the fucking planet. They literally wanted to like cause a global ecological disaster. What was their fucking problem, man? Those villains were unhinged. And like, remember in Generation 2, you could, when you beat the game, I kinda don't wanna say it because like to my left is my GF and she only played the first. She's in the middle of playing Fire Red, and I don't wanna say because in Gen 2 when you beat the game something really fucking cool happens. I don't know if you guys remember that. Shit like that doesn't exist in the like new Pokemon games, man. I know that there is an insane ROM hack mega project that is aiming to have all the regions and all the Pokemons. Last I checked, it was pretty advanced. There is always like a cool project like that, you know, in the works. You know what is crazy? The best Pokemon game I have ever fucking played was a Roblox game. It was, I remember still to this day, it was Pokemon Brick Bronze. And it was, like I said, a Roblox game. Nintendo, of course, took it down because they're pussies. And the map was completely original. Like, it featured, like, original cities and original gyms and whatever. That was not the cool part. The cool part is that the guy making it ported almost all Pokemon from all regions up to date. And there was a multiplayer arena that you could like challenge other guys for points, and the points would be used in a special arena shop to unlock like exclusive prizes. So it had a fucking it had a working online PvP. It had almost all of the Pokemon that existed to that up to that point, including all of the legendaries that you would need to catch in like crazy super rare events in the overworld, and you could completely customize your character too because it had the Roblox customization. So I was running around as a fucking freak with like one big arm and one small arm, and I had a giant image of Gordon Ramsay on my bare chest. Oh, shit was so funny, man. But yeah, literally the best, and it had all of the mechanics. It had like it had friendship, all of the evolution material. It had EVs, so you could actually train your Pokemon up to be like meta scam thing where they had maxed out stats if you fought the right trainers. And yeah, it had duels, it had gyms, it had a story that was pretty fucking bad from what I remember. Best Pokemon games I ever played, Clover, a ROM hack made by 4chan and Infinite Fusion, the one where when you can fuse Pokemons together and make the coolest shit. Oh, that sounds actually kinda cool. I don't get why Nintendo can't hire that guy and also the dude who made Mario Royale. Nintendo is fucked up when it comes to fan creations. Like literally one of the worst handlings of anything ever. So, you know. I only know this from watching the Pokemon Battle Royales by Terminal Montage. The last game I played was White. What the fuck are Pokemon Battle Royales, by the way? Is it like where he puts like all the Pokemon together and they kinda just fight each other in a big Pokemon fight? Oh no, it's a fun animation, I think. Okay. Oh yeah, it's an animation channel. Looks pretty cool. I feel very lost as I never played the games. That is incredibly rare, I think. Like, given the because you know some some games appeal to new gamers. Some games appeal to old gamers. Pokemon has that universal appeal because yeah, like somebody who's an older gamer, he might have played like Pokemon Red or fucking Blue, you know, Ruby Sapphire, whatever. But somebody who's a newer gamer still probably got into Pokemon via Pokemon Go or the newer games or remakes. So it's a very, very rare, and obviously Pokemon as an IP has like such a reach, man. Like it's fucking everywhere. Go to any go to any festival that sells plushie toys and it doesn't have Pokemon, and I will call you a fucking liar that there were no Pokemon plushies at that event. Like, man. The good news is today we might get Homeward Free, which appeals to nobody. Yeah, we're getting Homeward Free for sure. I wanna get it off my chest, you know. I've been fearing that day, I've been putting it off, I've been like, you know, trying to fucking stall it by talking, stall it by playing some Guess the Game, you know. Nothing really worked. The Z Day is here, man. And it's not looking good.
Incorrect.
Apparently, I'm incorrect though. So yeah, first we're starting off with some, MandaloreGaming Genesis Rising: The Universal Crusade, which has been recommended to me. People said I should react to this first before I react to Homeworld 3 because one of the jokes in Homeworld is gonna hit like a little closer to home. So, I hear you, and I'm gonna do it. And I think my screen is a little bit zoomed in, so hold on. Let the man cook. Can I just hit like... Okay, that should be it. There we go. So yeah, literally no idea what Genesis Rising is, man. And I'm assuming it's some kind of strategy though, if it was brought up in relation to Homeworld. So yeah, let's go into it raw and see if we come out of this experience as different people by the end. And I think the answer is yes, if I eventually get to Homeworld 3.
Incorrect. Melagio was first. And Melagio was meant to be alone among all things. But Melagio was betrayed.
Betrayed? Betrayed by whom?
God.
What?
Okay. Strong opening, a lot of Melagio in one fucking line of text.
Since the Callisto Protocol brought it up while playing, I thought of a future where humanity becomes genetic freaks. And it reminded me of a game very on track with that, Genesis Rising. And after a brief search, not only does it have no videos on YouTube covering it, but the IMDb page is also a complete shell. It did eventually come out on Steam, but was so broken that it didn't even launch for most people. For those who could run it, they'd be treated to everything being invisible or constant crashing. This was due to several folder directories.
Oh, this is one of those fucking underground games. Gotcha.
Just being missing. They did make it playable eventually, but on my end, all of the ships were 100% black. It looks to be some kind of shader issue, since setting that to medium fixed the ships right up. It still crashed a lot, and we'll go over all the joys of that later, but the point is, even when you could get the game in a box, it was scuffed. Now, there are tons of RTS games out there that have a similar story, but Genesis Rising is such a bizarre blend of madness that it's worth talking about. To sum the game up in a sentence, your spaceships are alive and filled with blood.
Ship destroyed.
Nice.
But that's only the epidermis of the setting. From the credits, I learned that the game is based off an obscure, single-issue Serbian comic called Cruciform. It takes place in the far future where humanity are the galactic villains. It's only a single issue with some interesting art, but the game itself gives all the context you need. After nearly being wiped out by several alien threats, humanity bounced back and are now the rulers of the universe. Not the galaxy.
Mechanicus music in the background, totally by accident, I'm sure.
The universe. All other aliens are either wiped out, enslaved, or thralls of humanity. Those survivors must also worship the human god. We're a brutal regime in the future, led by the Chair of Three, which represents the most important human factions: the military, the judicature, and the state church. What's interesting is that the human god was once a man, who united everyone against the alien threat. He was part man and part god, and it's unclear where he came from or how exactly he did what he did. He's known as the savior of mankind.
I was about to say it's a little bit on the nose now, but...
Now, you may have heard a similar story before, but this one is delivered like an Invader Zim bit.
The aliens, realizing the power of this demagogue and fearing for their very existence, captured, tortured, and killed him.
That looks like they are fucking, you know, jumping in the alleyway for his wallet, more like capturing him, but...
It looks more like he got jumped after class.
Oh my fuck! Okay.
As a martyr, his message was even more powerful. His death only served to strengthen humanity's resolve.
A new church.
What are those fucking cutscenes, man? This is an acid trip and a half.
Also arose to guide humanity.
Then there was a new church. Again, not much elaborated on. It feels like it doesn't matter much because the intro rocks. The voice acting throws more ham at you than an exploding butcher's shop, and it's being done over what sounds like the Villeneuve Dune theme.
Humankind's foray into space began uneventfully. For 1,000 years, our influence spread across...
I fucking can't. I literally can't, man. Why is the narration so bad while the music is actually fucking so epic? What is happening right now?
the length and breadth of known space.
So what looked like the Strogg almost wiped us out until the Savior saved us. But humanity's biggest achievement was the Organids, living spaceships that would grow, mutate, and then adapt to their environment. No other aliens had mastered these, so within a few thousand years, we just conquered most of existence. How could you stop it? I mean, these are some virile-looking ships. It sets the stage for a bizarre and dark setting, and that's when the first whiplash hits.
Father, don't be silly. The people celebrate the birth of the Universal Heart. I just happen to be born the same day.
Yes, I suppose you are right. But it is fun to pretend.
You play as a 5-year-old child whose haircutter hates him.
I'm just happy to be here with you, Father. I enjoy being on the bridge.
The story will skip ahead a few decades, just so that the kid, Icona, can get his own spaceship. After all, it'll grow up with him.
Father, I don't know what to say. But isn't it illegal to own a ship at my age?
It's such a light-hearted opening which feels unbelievably strange. Come on, son, let's go harvest the life essence of the Fallen.
Target spotted. Wait for me. This is fun.
When you're pitching this setting, does...
Now this is pod racing! 40k Saturday morning cartoon. Honestly, those are the vibes, man.
anyone want to see this? I'll try shunting, that's a good trick. Icona and his Omni...
Man, me and Mandalore are just fucking... Our brainwaves are intertwined in this video. Holy shit.
Cruiser grow up off-screen, so we don't get the more sentimental bits of H.R. Giger's Aragon. Icona is a commander now, and his hair has died out of embarrassment. He's morphed into being The Rock. And the Chair of 3 wants him to hunt down the Universal Heart, which his father went missing looking for. The Heart is, supposedly, where all life comes from. And there's only a single galaxy left that people haven't checked.
Captain, we've reached the last unexplored galaxy in the universe.
On its own, that's an insane thing to hear. But this galaxy has aliens that possess Organids. And that's the gist of the campaign. Wipe out your enemies, and find the Heart. For now, let's talk about the graphics. To be fair, the shaders aren't at the full potential they could be since it's outright broken. Though even with that, for a 2007 strategy game, it looks pretty good. A lot of it comes from how smartly they use lights and color. Like if you zoom in all the way on a spaceship, the texture won't be that sharp, but how parts glow and how color is arranged across it is really interesting. When you're not zoomed into it and playing the game normally, the ships do have a living quality to them. You see how different flesh and metal parts reflect in the sun, lights flicker on and off. Their general design can resemble ancient sea life or twisted forms of the human body. The ships being organic isn't some kind of lore afterthought, it is front and center and gross. A space station isn't just a safe harbor, it's a pulsating flesh reservoir. You don't have to harvest the field, you harvest the station. Your collectors are basically horrible, gigantic mosquitoes, and you can physically see them getting engorged with blood when they collect it. While they're the best at powering your economy, since blood is also currency in this setting, most of your ships are able to drain blood, including in the middle of battle. By harvesting enemy corpse ships, your own vessels can slowly heal themselves. So when your own ships are getting wounded, they can plug an IV into their enemy and start vampiring their health away, along with collecting any mutations they find to add into your own gene bank. There is some thinking to this, since some more destructive weapons have a higher chance of outright obliterating enemy ships, but playing it riskier means having a higher chance of getting a ship carcass, which is more literal blood, sweat, and tears for your war machine. Most weapons are genes that you use to mutate your craft. These are mutations that you physically see on the models
That's a
too.
really cool and a really cool gameplay loop that is not something you would expect from an RTS. That is really fucking cool. This is like when Reboot suddenly got dark sliced open on the eye of its kid character, then crushed his skull. What the fuck? Are we talking about the same Reboot? Holy shit. Children's media can be so goddamn brutal. Animorphs, oh man, Animorphs are so fucking cursed.
You can watch new weapons grow out, or parts of the ship extend, or strange appendages coming out of it. I know I said the mothership in Homeworld basically gave birth to new craft. That is actually what's happening here. Blowing up a station is killing a gigantic being, ripping the shell away and sending your roaches in to clean up the remains. It's like watching a fight in Star Wars and a whale fall at the same time. They even ground it a bit by having you encounter forces that use traditional spaceships. And when they go up against your primordial sea monsters, you're clearly the villain there. Visually, just playing the game is so excellent at making humanity an eldritch nightmare. You either die, or fall in line with the universal rulers. Though there are alien forces that are terrors in their own right, with their own cool, unique designs. Still, I think bioships are very underused in sci-fi, and Genesis Rising has some amazing designs, and others are deli-wrapped Cylon raiders. This also makes the rest of the tone way more psychotic.
Captain Icona, I think you should avoid talking to the Vicar until...
Until what?
Until you're a little more sober, sir.
Enough, soldier. Connect me to Juno.
Look, great value Captain Diomedes getting obliterated is already odd, but they went the extra mile to show he's drinking out of some kind of living conch shell. That is a creature that lives solely to sweat Everclear. This is the future Serbia wants. It probably saves money. This extends to the holograms, which are actually shape formers. So instead of calling someone, you temporarily generate a homunculus clone of them. Or something. And don't you worry, this gets one hell of a payoff later. Getting back to it, the environment looks good too, with lots of bold, striking colors. I would have liked some pitch black space to balance things out, but I guess that's how it goes in the last unexplored galaxy. When the background is more dim, I really appreciate the weapon and ship lights and how they contrast against the background. Even the box art leaned into that, which is how I noticed it at Best Buy back in the day. It promised a creepy bloodship future, and on that, it delivered in spades. The idea of Genesis Rising and how creative it is visually is without a doubt the strongest part of the game. The most barren are the endgame shapeformer cutscenes, but in comparison to their sound design, these look like masterpieces. I'll show you why.
This mission, the search for the heart, it is a terrible mistake.
It is no mistake, Bishop.
I see.
Can we get some fucking sound effects, man? Can we get some music? Can we get some not Tesco value voice acting, man? Holy shit.
There are no ambient effects, no music, it's just you and...
This is crazy because the cutscenes look normal, like... This just looks fine, they just, for some reason, didn't add sound effects. Like, holy fuck, why?
The voices. Right now it's just me and the voices. Alone. Diplomacy has never felt more confrontational and awkward.
Why did you attack us?
You will show respect. It is you who invaded our space.
It's not a bug, it's just the game. The ambient sound design is also more empty, but not going for realism, they just don't have that many effects. If it's not music, you hear weapon fire.
Crushing opposition.
I mean, that's fine.
It's generic and definitely undercooked for this time period. There were strategy games 10 years before this with way better soundscapes and much smaller budgets. It can also drive me nuts and some fights sound like a child fiddling with a lightsaber. Not to mention, for how over-the-top the setting is, the actual in-game voice acting can be weirdly casual. Especially after the intro, they rarely gel with the world they're inhabiting. I thought they set a clear tone.
Time to die. Suck them dry.
No!
I don't know. I feel a disconnect.
But not in that way, guys.
There are some characters that are better, but it's still very...
Guys, I'm ramming it from behind, not in that way though. You know, I'm gonna suck him dry, not in that way though.
budget.
I'm gonna finish him off, guys, not in that way though.
Side is on the way.
That's more like it. The soundtrack is the biggest audio standout. A decent amount of it is your standard RTS battle orchestra kind of sound, but like the wailing in the intro, sometimes it taps into something way more unique. As an example, here's the more traditional space game music. Still great production value, especially considering the rest of the soundscape. Then you have a track like Cruciform that steps it up.
Yo, hold on. You acquire new gene. Drake 4. I don't know, man. I would honestly, I would make do without those fucking genes. What is that on the... What is this like a turret? Or like a little dude? Those ships look fucking awesome in this game, by the way. And apparently some of the music goes absurdly hard.
There's a little more emotion showing with those. The issue comes from how often you hear the generic battle theme.
Okay, Lich, okay, you get a gold star for that comment. Quotes, but it's a Predator class ship. Oh man. Yeah, and the smaller the smaller the ship he's going against, like the more effective he is.
Over and over again. The composer has so much range that's just underused. There's one part where you're investigating a new alien race based around crystals and ice, and the soundtrack is just people and children whispering. It's like they're trying to make a tulpa or something. So the game can have its moments of standout music, but it's mostly...
All I hear in the background is suck them dry, man. Can they stop saying that?
Its moments of standout music, but it's
Every time he presses on a fucking enemy vessel, it's suck them dry. Man, stop saying that. It doesn't sound like you think it does.
Mostly... It is a letdown how they used what they had a lot of the time, but there are some gems in there. I've seen some around in a fairly popular Homeworld 2 mod, but never in a Warhammer lore video or something like that. Maybe that'll change now. Okay, let's talk about the game itself. It's Homeworld on bath salts. I guess that's not too fair since mechanically they are very different, but there's a lot of influence here. Beyond similarities in the visuals and structure and even some missions near one-to-one, you also command a persistent fleet throughout the campaign. This wasn't uncommon at the time since almost every space RTS game definitely had some Homeworld influence. The difference is the story and writing in Homeworld makes something like a persistent fleet feel like it matters, whereas here in other games you go, oh, that's...
I never realized how like iconic and influential Homeworld was. Like I said, it's just like the early RTS. I never got into like any sci-fi RTSs other than like StarCraft, I guess, when I was younger, and then that era kinda ended, I think. Like now instead of real-time strategies, 4X is the like new norm for strategies, I think, so especially sci-fi.
Convenient. Besides, Genesis Rising takes place in a 2D plane, since very few games still want to tackle the 3D space element. There's no kind of veterancy, but the persistent fleet is neat for capturing enemy ships. So if you grab a lab ship, you can build everything that your adversary has. This still sounds better than it is because there are barely any ships per faction. Besides your Omnicruiser, you can only build 3 kinds of combat ships, and not that many. Most ships don't innately have abilities either, they're just platforms for more mutations. So bigger ships have more health and more options determined by you. With the persistent fleet, you might think how genes and mutations work in the campaign could be harsh, but it's not at all. When you find a new gene by shunting it out of a corpse or trading for it, that gene becomes permanently unlocked in your bank. It's more like you're unlocking the template for it instead of a singular item. But you can also find and trade for special items which are exactly that. Single-use modifications that you lose if the ship is destroyed, something like a stun ability or nuclear missiles. As the campaign goes on, you can eventually find genes for the special items as well, so they're more just a temporary help. You'll also be finding upgraded genes which cost more blood to equip on your ship, but are better at what they do. Simple enough so far, but what stops you from making a min-maxing dick ship? For one, mutating a ship actually increases its max health, but it's not filled in immediately. After upgrading, the ship will need to fill up or be healed another way. This makes shifting in battle a bad idea. On top of that, any active abilities like a purge or a shield or some kind of special missile will generate heat. When it overheats, it can't use abilities again until it cools down. Which means you can't...
Why is one of his commanders just Dwayne The Rock Johnson, man? In a fucking, like, Halo... powered... You know... Halo fucking... exoskeleton suit.
Put a death missile on something like a station, but it'll take forever to recharge. Now on paper, and at a few points in the game, the system is really engaging. You do some easy-baked gene splicing before a fight, determine what abilities work best on what ships, and with so few ships but all these mutations, it looks like there should be a lot of tactical depth to the game.
I'm guessing it's very based on enemy AI, and if the enemy AI is too easy, then the whole system just doesn't fucking matter. It's a very common mistake for games to make, where the game is so easy, you are never encouraged to engage with the systems to actually, like, you know, try to win the game.
Except there really isn't, and beyond that, the interface makes everything a pain in the ass to play. On the balance side, when you discover the freeze gene, which immobilizes your enemy for ages, including stations, most other active abilities go in the trash. While they look neat visually, besides the soft or hard damage aspect, I didn't feel much of a difference between most of the weapons. Short range especially could feel completely interchangeable. The late game does try to open up more tactical and utility items, especially in one mission that makes the most out of the system, having you resurrect enemy ships and moving abilities around, but at that point your fleet is enough of a murder machine that it doesn't matter that much. Hearing that, you might think the game is overly easy, but no, this can be a tough one for all the wrong reasons. You can't save any kind of gene load.
It's the main character? Damn. It's so they don't have to worry about her looking terrible, I'm sure. Actually, I could see that.
Out or build to quickly drag onto a ship, so every time you build a new one, you have to go into the menu and manually mutate it by click dragging. Different genes also don't have different hotkeys, it's just the same use active ability hotkey. To manually use one means clicking on the icon above the craft or on the side panel. And you never get used to where things are because where the ships and mutations are at are moving around all the time. It's also hard to tell from the footage, but the mouse has a ton of weird drag to it. The interface is clearly meant for a 4:3 ratio since it's stretched out, but the game itself does support widescreen. All the cutscenes are in widescreen. I'm not sure what's going on there, but the mouse lacks precision and feels clunky to use. There's other strangeness, like hold space to toggle mutations showing up in the side panels, but then they'll disappear. It turns out the ships are camera shy, and if they're on screen, their ability will disappear from the panel, so you can click on the ship itself, if it's actually in your field of view. There was a toggle to make them show up permanently, but that would either crash the game or make it more prone to crashing. I have no clue why that's not on by default. The interface being so clunky makes you prey to your biggest enemy, the missiles. One of the missile genes has slight lock-on, extreme range, and gets more powerful the longer it's in the air. When you launch them at enemies, they rarely hit, but when they launch them at you just die.
Ship destroyed.
I cannot count how many times I got own-zoned by missiles. You're notified for long-range weapons that don't matter constantly. Like, look out, a breeder's on the way. That's nothing. So you might miss someone somewhere has launched a missile, and then a ship gets insta-killed at full health. These aren't super weapons either, it's just a long-range mutation you could slap on any ship. The notification could mean a light tickle or you are now instant bone jelly. You might get the notification during a fight thinking it's a short-range missile from there, but really it's from across the map and you won't be seeing it for a minute or so. This is also a good time to remind you there's no in-mission saving. You can be on a map for a half hour or more, let an important ship out of your sight for a little too long, and it gets zapped by a missile. I was living in terror of these fucking things, and even with my paranoia, I was still barely dodging them in time. Usually the missile would sail past the targeted ship and obliterate something else. And that's fine until the game crashes. I only know some things likely to cause a crash, and one is a large ship dying. There were simple missions I spent hours on purely from crashing or from getting fox-2'd by a space whale. It was getting to a point I don't often for videos where I considered scrapping it purely from how often the thing was crashing or I was getting missiled. I was starting to remember why I hadn't finished this game all those years ago. Should I push through for the story? It's not like a good story. And then I saw The Rock make first contact with an alien race.
Nothing's happening.
He's literally making the face, man.
What?
Whoa! Ha ha ha! Interesting proportions.
No, you can't do this to me. You do that and it's like, now I have to see what happens. I'm not sure how to sum up the story. A lot of it was surprise filler, and the other parts were written like something from the Pepsi-verse. It has some interesting ideas, but the kind of ideas
Oh man, that Pepsi document about the logo is fucking insane, man. I don't know if you guys ever seen
written
that.
like something from the Pepsi.
Jesus fucking Christ, man. I missed some comments in the chat. I'm only now realizing this. This is like the graphic novel Humanity Lost, only instead of an insane AI controlling the biomechanical monstrosities, it's still humanity doing this nonsense. This is exactly why it's in need of a remaster. Oh yeah, all the bugs and shit, and the crashes. Yeah, I can see that definitely. This game is a nightmare to run. I've tried several times using the Steam version with some of Mandalore's fixes and other forum stuff, and even then I still had a ton of crashes. Jesus. The two big payoffs, boobies, mommy. Homeward 3 wishes it was this good.
Pepsi-verse. It has some interesting ideas, but the kind of
You read the entire fucking Pepsi document? There is no way. Isn't that thing like 60 pages long or something?
Ideas you'd find scrawled in feces at a bus stop. I will be getting into spoilers since I really can't tell where a stopping point is in the story. There are also choices to make and several different endings depending on what you do in the final mission. When you receive your mission to hunt for the heart, you meet Vicar Juno, the
I just wanted to say, Dwayne The Rock Johnson looks very human for this setting. I thought we were like all biofreaks or shit like that.
Representative of the Bishop. He introduces your choice mechanic, blue balled or red balled. Obviously, the intention is that blue is the friendly, diplomatic option, and red is an aggressive response. So I try both on Infinity.
Paragon Renegade depth. For everything Mass Effect does right, the Paragon Renegade choices were fucking stupid, man. Just blue or red, make your choice, man.
The head of the judges. Most responses boil down to yes or sarcastic yes, and many Western RPGs would perfect this formula in the following years. No matter what, Infinity is very interested in you.
We are very much alike, you and I. When you return, perhaps we could spend some quality time together.
Perhaps.
But look what happens when I choose Paragon Rock here.
You deny that you are Defiance? State your designation.
I have enough trouble, I'll try to be nice to the Strogg, and we'll see.
No! Why would you think we are Defiance?
Red is worse than that?
Designation? Human. We're called humans.
No, they're just assigned to the wrong button sometimes. So the aliens with the organic ships are the Defiance. They're a confederation of races against the human empire, including some that humanity thought they wiped out ages ago. This is a great idea for when you're playing as the heel. You can learn about the races humans have stomped down, and then decide how to deal with them. You'll have some options of where you can travel to first, or even go off track or backtrack. Typically, this only means getting your standard skirmish map with maybe an opportunity for new genes, but I appreciate the attempt at putting the journey more in your hands, even if it's pretty barren. Anyhow, the Defiants are also nasty in their own way. They've been oppressing the local Strogg for years, who are all too happy to join you on your genocide. There may not be many Defiants, but they are a major threat. They've invented parasitic weaponry, which can consume a living ship from the inside out. And if they get around, humanity's greatest weapons will be useless. It establishes a mystery of how they were formed and discovered the secrets of organids. Does it have something to do with the heart? Well, that whole thread dies quietly, because while searching for the heart, the Defiants suddenly erupt into civil war. During your journey, you've seen
more games could use the interrupt system made in Mass Effect 2 though. Yeah, that one was okay, but still, like, I think almost all interrupts were locked to the Renegade path, which I fucking hate playing Renegade in Mass Effect, because you need to be, like, mean to your crew to get enough Renegade points, and that shit always rubbed me the wrong way, man. Why the fuck would I want to be mean to my crew? I don't give a fuck about these, like, other aliens, but, like, my crew is my crew, you know? I don't have to push them around. So yeah, Mass Effect was fucking stupid in that regard, man. But they interrupt stuff where you, like, a dude is just talking and you blow up an explosive barrel under him was hilarious, though. I just wish that system was a little bit more better. Oh yeah, Wolf Among Us had the infamous glass him scene.
Mysterious pillars that have traces of blood air, which is apparently a sign of the universal heart. These pillars are the Lapis altars. Half of the Defiants think that destroying them will anger the Lapis gods and cause the apocalypse. The other half believes that not destroying them will cause the apocalypse. Tough break.
Fool! If these altars are not destroyed, the Lapis will come!
From what I've been told, they'll come if you do destroy the altars.
Preposterous! The locals think the Lapis are gods, but the truth is that they are a primitive species. Without these altars, they aren't even capable of space travel.
You learn more about the Lapis from the Cold White.
They aren't even...
What fucking language is the voice acting, like, for what language are the models, like, what language are they talking to? Like, this is so out of sync. Like, the voice and the facial animations.
Preposterous! The locals think the Lapis are gods, but the truth is that they are a primitive species. Without these altars, they aren't even capable of space travel.
You learn more about the Lapis from the Cold Whites. They're a mysterious, all-female tit race that you saw in the big cutscene.
You could put an eye out with those things, lady.
They're called the Cold Whites because they live in the cold part of space. And are white. They do point you in the direction of the Lapis themselves, who are rock people. They build their ships from asteroids and are essentially thinking rocks. They don't communicate with outsiders, only attack them, which is why some aliens theorize that they're not sentient at all, and that just comes from the pillars. They do follow blood air, which again, means heart. At this point, Infinity and Vicar Juno arrive, and the Rock explains what's happening. He still wants to go track down the heart, but the Chair of Three demands the Defiants die, and they're defeated the next mission. This leads to a 2-year time skip, which is where you spend your time getting piss drunk with the piss juice. Mankind rules the sector, and instead of hunting down the heart, you do errands like taking the aliens to mass. You get missions, shaking extraterrestrials in their bed going, "Wake up! It's time for church." You especially need some Hail Marys. You might need some too if you enter the romance with Infinity. This is a fairy tale romance.
Yo. That's a fucking...
Tell her what every woman wants.
That's a very tall woman, man.
To hear in this moment.
Don't worry, Infinity. I won't tell anyone.
Captain! Is there something wrong with the shape form?
No, I don't think so. I was just making contact with this woman.
I see. I was just curious as to why we haven't left yet.
Legal issues. I have to take care of some details before we can leave. Red tape, you know?
I wish they'd just let us do our job.
It's like they can't decide between Warhammer 40k or Farscape. They can't decide a... Is he going for the fish? It's so messy, and only the more fanatical characters actually feel authentic for the setting it's showing. They package the game with epic choirs and monstrous spaceships. Then
Okay, listen. Hear me out about that fish thing, okay? I think The Rock is very brave, okay, for that.
Talking, and it's half B-movie and half YouTube poop. Except not nearly that fun, and how some things are resolved is so unsatisfying. To wrap up the mess arc, the Lapis attack by throwing rocks, as they were lured there by the traitorous Cold Whites, which means killing the Cold White leader, and killing the Defiance again. Juno is so pleased by this that he sends you out to look for the heart again. The enigmatic cerebral race might know more.
Look! It's another Juno creature!
I know they seem trustworthy, but they give you the runaround until you just murder them for the information, which is to put the pillars in the right order, but your father appears to tell you that he found the heart and it imprisoned him, and it'll surely imprison you too, but the magic rocks already opened the portal, which will surely lead to the heart. Right?
Father? Am I dead?
No, son. I brought you here to make certain that you don't die.
You mean I'm in the past?
Yes.
But why?
It is easy for them to kill you now, in the past.
Who's them?
You will see.
I have been skimming over details.
I just wanna say, he got hit with that fucking baldness pretty early in his life. Poor kid, man.
But I promise you...
But to be fair, he also has a fucking hair of a grown man as a kid, so... I don't know, maybe some fucking, you know, some of that advanced aging stuff they fucking vaccinate into children or something in this universe. Farscape was fun, never seen of it. Half of that scenes was goofy wacky stuff, and the other half was watching the main character gradually turn into a mass murdering PTSD ridden broken man. Oh man, I love when PTSD and humor intertwine. Like I loved in Spec Ops The Line where like shit was getting so dire, and one of your like squad was still desperately trying to crack some jokes, but it just didn't work out because everybody was so mentally cooked. Man.
We did not need time travel. You play back in the baby Omnicruiser with your
Genetic freak indeed. Dude was always 20 years ahead of the curve.
In the past, fighting ships from the future. You win, travel back to the future, reunite with your fleet, and then defeat the giant 3 Portal Guardian heads, which puts you back to where things were,
oh, they
except
look
you
cool,
then get
though.
the only diplomacy scene with music.
Is this the future?
Actually, no. It is the past. The far distant past.
I don't understand. If we're in the past, why are you...
I have spent over 50 years in a past so distant that humans don't yet exist. Or at least they didn't. Until I came here and established a new human empire of my own.
So Juno went back in time to create an even more overpowered human empire, which is the Inquisition, and he can do this because the heart controls time, and he wanted Icona dead because he thought he was a liability for no reason.
I forgive you. All of that is in the past. Or the future, actually. Time travel. It can be a bit confusing.
I wasn't oversimplifying there. The plan really is just to make the human empire even more awesomer. It's not till mid-conversation that the band wakes up.
What about the Chair of 3? I can't imagine they're too happy about your little foray into the past.
They don't know about this. And they will never find out, because they will never exist. No more.
Unless multiverse theory.
More meddling from fools who do not deserve the positions conveyed upon them. Come, Icon. You can be a part of this. Join me as my admiral. Lead my armies to glory. Glory for all mankind.
Glory.
You cannot
for all
join him
mankind.
Here. It's a ridiculous plan, but why not? He even offers to help get Dad back if you join him.
Sorry,
and Icona still
glory
says no.
to mankind.
This is the apex of how disjointed everything has been. We've been playing an evil genocidal empire, wiping out enemies left and right all game, but they still want to play you off as being Space McGunn's fun adventure man, who is, at best, indifferent to aliens as long as they align with his goals. He doesn't want to break the timeline and get everything he's wanted and more because Juno's the bad guy. If your character was played as a villain with ambitions for power, going up against Juno because he'll be the supreme ruler would make sense here. Everything else in the setting and the game screams that you should be evil, yet they didn't commit to it. Imagine how fun an evil space captain could be, throwing aliens at the airlock, announcing mandatory blood taxes and dropping awful one-liners. I want mustache-twirling villain, or at least dedicated space marine. This is just empty. You do escape Juno and make contact with the Lapis, who point you towards their leader.
Why are you attacking me?
You destroyed the Lapis altars.
Oh god.
Destroyed them? No, that hasn't happened yet. That happens in the future.
It is all the same.
Past that is the boss battle with the giant rock ship that has your dad. And you meet the Lapis leader, Melagio.
Do you see him now?
I don't see anything but a planet. Is the planet his vessel?
He is the first brother. He is Melagio. He requires no vessel.
Who said that? Melagio reveals many secrets of the universe. The most alarming one being that he is beefing on a personal level with God. Melagio was supposed to be the only life form in the universe, but then God made more life to piss him off. He and God are no longer on speaking terms, and it's not clear what caused the fight. But as revenge against all life, Melagio created the Lapis. They obliterate everything on sight because this is the Rock's big revenge against God.
Against all life? Then how come the Lapis are only found in this part of the universe?
In the beginning, this was all of the universe. But God betrayed Melagio yet again and expanded the universe.
All of existence was made purely to spite this dude. Nothing in the Old Testament comes within...
Holy shit, God was a certified hater, man. God damn. Best beef in fiction. That is some Old Testament God, man. Just fucking... Bro, you said a bad word against me? The flood.
Leagues of being this petty. Apparently, Juno has planted some kind of organid device in the heart of the universe. If you destroy it, Melagio will protect the heart and contain the Lapis for all of eternity. Then Dad calls to say no, destroy Melagio's control rock, no one should control the heart of the universe. And Juno is online too, telling you to mutate his device so that you can rule the galaxy forever. Now you show down with your greatest rival, the other two endings.
Funny. I was about to say the same thing. Then you must know what I'm thinking. You think we got too close to the heart, and Juno used that to his advantage. I'm glad we understand each other. We should use this phenomenon to our advantage. To finish what we started? Exactly. I know exactly what we should do. Me too. So do I.
It all led to this, all the crashing, all the missile murders. A crazy man arguing over what god rock to kick.
Talk about your split decisions. You know, I've been around you guys for about a minute now, and I already don't like you. Either of you. The feeling's mutual. I think I know how to handle this.
Supported by the numbers.
I'm sorry, I just needed a little break.
Three of me and I still can't make a decision. I'm pretty hard to convince when I think I'm...
The Spider-Man meme. I for a second, I thought we're going the Horatio route from... what was it? Everspace 2? Or like... The race in the 4X space thing where it's just one dude, like 1 billionaire, trillionaire dude who kept cloning himself and making other species into like a split image of himself, and it's just gonna be an army of the rocks. That would be fucking great.
Too. Maybe we should go through the portal again. See
Endless
which one
space
of us
too.
makes
Yeah,
it through.
yeah.
Jesus Christ, they fight. They all fight. And wouldn't you know it, it's one of the hardest missions because they mirror your ships, your genes, everything you have. They also appear to be teamed up against you because I never saw them fight each other. So the trick here is to completely scrap your own fleet and sell off everything. In a move of ultimate catharsis, you can give them the one-shot missile, even though it's technically still you being one-shot. Sayonara to 2 rocks in a hard place. Though to give the game credit, every ending does have a fully animated cutscene. If you take Melagio's deal, the Chair of Three is irritated, but life goes on. They'll take another crack at Ultimate Ascension or whatever the plan was at another point in the future. Melagio keeps his word, and Dad is replaced in eternal prison with Juno.
You've robbed me of my place in eternity. I must take my place next to God. No!
If you do what Dad asked and wipe out the stone, Icona considers it as being returning control to God. Strangely, it's this ending where we see some lust for power brewing in him.
The heart was not ours to take. Not yet. We may rule the material side of the universe, but we have much to learn about the spiritual beings that we aspire to be.
Juno is still alive, but younger again for some reason. A lot of his Inquisition soldiers survived somehow and will be secretly breeding a new army. With all the time travel shenanigans, I have no idea how this works. These endings are each about 2 minutes long. Naturally, the one where you side with Juno to make humanity the ultimate power in the universe is the shortest one and considered the bad ending.
Welcome to the new eternity, my son. I hope it was worth it.
That's kinda lame.
I don't understand. This game frustrates me to no end. Even if it was completely stable and not full of janky bugs, it's still not a game I'd recommend unless you desperately wanted to see these ships for yourself. It's clearly lifting a lot from Warhammer, but when it goes out on its own direction, it can get really fascinating at times. It was brought up abruptly, but God feuding with someone causing the universe is an out there idea that you could expand on more. Hell, even scaled down, evil human empire with organic ships is an idea that rules. But with how the mutation system works and how clunky and unbalanced it is, it's no wonder that the game didn't take off, since skirmish mode isn't worth going to and you're not getting on multiplayer. The thing is, when I play these janky Eastern European games that are largely forgotten, even when the execution sucks, there are always cool ideas present. It's buggy and clunky and the tone isn't a Vitamix, but even after all—
Fucking Eastern Euro junk is my drug of choice, man. I love me some of that fucking stalker in my veins, you know.
All these years, the image of a spaceship exploding into blood never left me. They made a future where mankind is lost, blood is fuel, and hell was made—
Fake choices like that are lame, commit to the bit. Oh, fuck yeah, man. Preach, brother, preach. Like, if you are giving me a choice to be evil, I want the choice to actually matter, or have an elaborate cutscene where I'm fucking curb stomping like Xeno races because this is what I chose. Not like your fucking father comes in and shames you while you're sitting in the cock chair looking out the window. What the fuck is that cutscene, man?
To aggravate a space rock. The Organids are still the height of bioships for me. The only setting I can think of that's similar is the Leviathan trilogy of books. It's an alternate World War I where the Central Powers use mechs, and the Allies made war machines by playing God with DNA. Sadly, they're more YA books, but the Keith Thompson art books are worth picking up, and that about covers it for Genesis Rising. It's one of those games where someday someone will do something incredible with the idea. Even with all its migraine features, I can't deny there is cool stuff here. I tried my best to get into it, but in the end, I couldn't smell what the rock was cooking.
The system is freezing. Let's find what we need and get out as soon as possible.
A long time ago, way back in history, when all there was to drink was nothing but atrocity.
Travel games I'd like to cover in a block, like one a week. So that'll take some more outlining, but Darkest of Days is one of them. That's another of those cool ideas, not great execution games.
This is fun.
I don't get it.
Man, the Child the Rock episode was so fucking unnecessary, and for some reason was in there. I too don't get it, Mandalore. I too don't get it. And yeah, that was Genesis Rising: The Universal Crusade. Very, very weird game with some very cool ideas. I wish we had some of those ideas in other better games, I guess. But yeah, that's gonna be it for this video. So for people watching later on YouTube, thank you very much for joining me, and see you in the next one. And on the stream, I'm gonna just go to the bathroom real quick. That was truly a game. Well said, man. Well said. This was one of the games of all time, and you're telling me Homeward Free. You're telling me Homeward Free wishes it was this good? Holy fuck, it's gonna be so bad. I'm just gonna go to the bathroom real quick and come back to you guys with a breaking the Geneva Convention in Total Warhammer 3
Chemical
by the Grim Clipper, a channel we haven't watched before on the channel, but he did appear, I believe, in some of the, I think in some of the Reggie videos, he was present. So yeah, be right back. This was the better game for sure. My god. Well, after this video, you know, after this video we're gonna find out what were they cooking with Homeworld 3. Many people would say they weren't. Many people would say they weren't cooking fucking anything, man. Who the fuck let them in the kitchen, you know? But that's just the voice of the populace, you know, screaming bloody murder. Maybe it's not that bad, you know. Maybe it's not that bad. You know, you never know, you know. Maybe it's a little bit overhated, as one could say. A quick thing for this video: if you're playing as the faction Clipper is using and you walk left at the start of the game, there's a very high chance a character named Morgul will decide to give you a game over. He's practically made to counter your faction and is so strong. If he's in a fight against you with any sort of army, barring bugs, you're practically guaranteed heavy losses or defeat. I'm assuming you mean like on the map, or that is fucking wild. That is some Kingsfield shit, man. You fucking like that early ass FromSoft game where you walk forward and like the floor under you just crumbles and you instantly die at the beginning of a game. Should have expected this, fucking idiot. Gotcha! You will see, keep it in mind. Okay. So yeah, breaking the Geneva Convention in Total Warhammer 3. Total Warhammer 3 still a very popular, you know, subject on the channel. And an ongoing, I guess, strategy game because it's still getting some DLC. Did it get new DLC past that triple pack with the Baba Yaga and the guy who was like changing into other people? Did Warhammer get some fucking new DLC past that? At some point I should take a look if it has like new trailers and like maybe do an updated reaction to the trailers if it does have like new DLC. It did. People are really liking it. Oh, nice, man. Like I think the DLC with the 3 heroes was, the reception was a little bit mixed because of the price, not necessarily like the quality of everything, but I think they workshopped a lot of things in the meantime. So yeah, let's get into it and see some Geneva Convention breaks on the. I mean, listen. There is no Geneva Convention for the rats, okay? There's only like Geneva goals list, like a Geneva bucket list, more like for them, you know?
Chemical warfare, ignoring the Geneva Convention, and putting a whole new meaning to the term friendly fire. Because today in Total Warhammer 3, we'll be drowning the world in rats by keeping a level head, befriending our neighbors, and being an overall menace to society. What couldn't we accomplish? With the release of Immortal Empires, Total Warhammer now has a massive new map combining 3 different campaigns into one, and with it some interesting new mechanics. Naturally, it was only fitting that we play as the best faction. For those of you who don't know who the Skaven are, 2 words. Many rat. Our starting leader was Ikit Claw.
I love the rat, man. I love the many rat. The rat are indeed many. Ooh, okay. Like, so yeah, I will get on that like new trailer and new content probably do a little bit of a reaction when something else gets released, because I'm assuming they're still like releasing DLC for Warhammer 3, right? He's also playing as the faction that gets nuclear weapons. I know they have like fucking energy race, energy mutated race or something, but didn't know you get the nuclear option.
A very sane and stable individual. In the options, I enabled something called Ultimate Crisis Mode, which takes the endgame and tweaks some things, so I'll explain it a bit more later. Starting the game, our main settlement was Skavenblight, the breathtaking and luxurious capital of all rat kind. The map we were on was the Immortal Empires map, which is insanely large with about 278 factions, of which we were gonna break. But first, we needed to secure land, starting with the settlement next to us. Despite Warhammer being mostly medieval, Skaven have miniguns. As a bunch of rat people, not only have our units not touched grass, they don't know what grass is. Our front line is weak, our heroes walking toothpicks, and our morale isn't real. But we do have one major strength. Above all else, Skaven are cheap. So cheap, in fact, that the lives of my infantry are worth slightly less than my bullets. I like how we've already won the battle, and I am still friendly firing my own units. With the fight ended, we'd gained our second settlement. On the campaign map, we could construct and upgrade buildings to train higher level Skaven, troops that were basically still bad. Ikit Claw also leveled up, so he started to train his campaign skills. Ikit also has a special mechanic called the Forbidden Workshop, which lets us upgrade our various weapon teams and build Doom Rockets. As the name suggests, they're tools for world peace. Our first upgrade was for our Rattling Guns, which is a minor change that gives them infinite ammo. We walked over to the capital of our Empire enemies, but the garrison was too large to fight, so I backed off. After ending the turn and cycling through all 200 AI factions, the enemy army attacked us outside the city. Because we were fighting in a choke point map, we clogged both entrances with an indomitable wall. Skaven slaves. With the enemy army blobbed up, I decided to test our weapons. Despite mowing down the rest of them and winning the battle, we took 722 losses. Gee, I wonder why. With the army defeated, we moved on to their capital and began to siege it down. While the siege continued, we had an
wait, I gotta turn this off. The Rat Boys are... Oh, sorry. Oh, I thought I'm gonna sneeze. What, I'm not allowed to sneeze? The Rat Boys are neat, but the Chad Lizard Man will always be close to my heart, man. When I finally get into fucking Warhammer 3, it's gonna be tough choosing, like, between all the cool factions. The Coastal Pirates are also seem extremely cool to me. In regards to my previous question about releasing content, yes, they just released a free character too. Based.
Another important scheme being set up. I'd moved a Warlock Engineer all the ways up to the Wood Elf cities to use his special ability, expanding the Under Empire. This essentially establishes a city under a city. We can build various things in our Under cities too, but most importantly, steal money, and build subterranean dirty bombs. Yeah, no, that too. But first, we need to keep expanding above ground, so we took that capital city, eliminating our only enemy. Never mind. For some reason, people think we're some kind of threat to society. Officer, I wasn't doing anything illegal, it was just a Breaking Bad reference. By expanding the Under Empire, people would get unhappy. And not just people, this guy's a tree. Plus some Undercity buildings, one of the ruins, continue upgrading our settlements, and the Beastmen were back. I am scared. But I guess the AI wasn't, because instead of fighting back, they literally just sat there while eating bullets. Do you ever look at someone and wonder what is going on in their head? Despite our advantage, they tore through our front line. Well, I tore through our front line. We mopped up the rest of the Beastmen, and before long, it was just one left. Their leader, Morgur. But of course, we had bullets, so he didn't stand a chance, is what I thought. Morgur has health regeneration, meaning he just sat there and tanked several thousand bullets. Ikit Claw, routed. All my infantry ran away, and my Rattling Guns kited him for 30 minutes straight. I have a question. Why, God? Even after the fight, we couldn't catch Morgur, so he lived to inconvenience me another day. But at least now we have...
He's just fucking... What a chad. fucking walks away from minigun fire.
We couldn't catch Morger, so he lived to inconvenience me another day.
I'm surprised he didn't trip over the gigantic fucking balls he has between his legs, man.
But at least now...
I wish I got that back where they just stand still.
We had a break for one turn. Orion's army attacked one of our cities, and while we couldn't win, we could deal damage. When defending settlements, we get insanely busted towers, which goes in line with throwing fodder at our enemy. 200 dead elves later, Orion sacked the settlement and ran away. He also attacked Ikit, in a fight that favored us. Orion's army was fairly weak when we approached, and Orion, as one of the tankiest characters in the game, died immediately. After the fight, we started to upgrade our capital, and with it, we worked towards the pinnacle of Skaven weaponry. The wonderful beauty of chemical warfare. Before we could violate international safety laws, we had a bigger problem. One covered in leaves, wood, and was basically a 30-foot tall tree. Durthu had decided to wander over and Fus Roda for the trees. And right behind him, amazing. I recruited another lord and trained more Ratling gunners. After Durthu occupied a settlement, we attacked with our combined armies. Hello, giant tree man. With Durthu destroyed, we turned to deal with Morger, if I could find him. Beastmen armies hide by default, so another siege. Somehow, our paperweight garrison almost won, until some...
They're just invisible. Beastmen are just invisible on the overworld map? God damn.
Dogs ran to the back, captured the victory point, and we lost. I'm sure my settlements love getting burned to the ground every other day. On the bright side, we'd made an ally, Aranessa Zaltspite, who was basically an undead pirate queen. Somehow, she'd girl-bossed her way into burning down the Wood Elf forests, so she was helpful. Going forward a bit, we recolonized all of our ruined settlements, made contact with the Chaos Demons in the north, and discovered the Shrine of Cain. On the map, there exists an item called the Sword of Cain. Basically, it turns someone into a murderous psychopath, so we're unaffected. If we had it, we'd turn Ikit Claw into essentially a god. It would also put us at war with pretty much everyone. So again, business as usual. Our second army got intercepted by the Beastmen, and after retreating... Oh, hello, Durthu.
Yep, you need to find where they're hiding. But is it like, do you need to step into a certain radius of them? Or do you need to use like a special, like, overworld command where they're nearby? Or do they just straight up need to attack you for you to know where they are?
Wait, why are the Beastmen your reinforcements? Both of you are at war. To deal with Morger, bribery. As for Durthu, he kinda just moonwalked away. Yeah, that's not concerning at all. But after everything was said and done, we'd finally secured our peninsula. Unfortunately, it came at the cost of something valuable. The itsy-bitsy unimportant ability to eat. Now, Skaven society is a lot like Soviet society. There is no food. Each settlement, undercity, and army consumes food every turn. And we had zero. To get food, we could build certain structures or find another solution. Hello, city full of peasants. With a foothold in Castle French name, we continued through our research tree, built walls in our other settlements, and got a quest for Ikit's unique weapon, Storm Demon. So to get it, we had to go through a quest battle, which didn't look too bad, right?
It's a dice roll based on stats. Oh.
Ikit has the biggest brain of all rats.
Alright, that's all I needed to hear. The quest battle was against the Lizardmen, who have high health infantry and monsters. In terms of infantry, we had Poison Wind Globadiers, which damage everything they hit. They're also the reason why my front line is dead. Our Ratling gunners could deal with most of their monsters. Case in point. I also forgot to mention that we picked up these extremely elite Council Guard, which are essentially our best infantry in the game. Hence why we are shooting them in the back. As we dealt with the first army, a second one came in.
I love how half of this footage is just him obliterating his fucking front line.
This one entirely made up of monsters and dinosaurs. We finished off the initial army, got hit by an orbital sunbeam, kind of bad, and the Ripperdactyls reenacted a prehistoric Pearl Harbor. But with the monsters, it was still close. Our infantry were like grass, being mowed by bigger grass. And we had to kite the Lizardmen back with our Ratling guns. Through the power of the NRA, willful ignorance, and running away from our problems like it was 2020, we barely came out on top. So in winning the battle, we took 830 casualties. But if you do the math, the enemy only got 370 kills. Oh. Oh no! With the battle won, we got access to Ikit's Storm Demon weapon. The global obedience bonus was nice because towards the end of the game, things get hectic. By enabling Ultimate Crisis Mode, we'd be fighting against ridiculous odds later in the game. Right after the battle, 2 Bretonnian armies showed up and started sieging our castle. Luckily, we leveled Ikit up to have Lightning Strike, which means he can lock reinforcements out of battles when attacking, so we could 1v1 any army. The masses of unwashed peasants were led by the Fey Enchantress, riding a meth addict Bojack horseman. Meanwhile, Ikit casually rode a giant electric hamster wheel. I was initially worried about their Grail Guardians, who are one of the most elite cavalry in the game. Or should I say, were the most elite. But isn't using poison gas against peasants kinda overkill? Well, according to my magic 8-ball, try again later. By winning the battle, we got a unique trait for Ikit. We also unlocked the Avalanche Mortars, which are kinda nuts. A legendary Wood Elf hero also showed up. A practical demigod, Ariel was one of the most powerful creatures in existence. And now, with the help of one sneaky rat, dead. We attacked the remnants of the Bretonnian army and ambushed them too. Now, how long do you think this whole fight will last? If you guessed 27 seconds, you'd be off by 1 second. Bretonnia got 0 kills, and we lost 75 people. That's fantastic. While all of this had been going on, we'd been expanding the Under Empire. My warlock engineer had taken a slight detour and established a city under the Dark Elf capital. We also had one under the High Elf capital and every Wood Elf city. If you couldn't tell, elves don't really like us. Like Ariel, who was back to being a mild inconvenience. It was becoming—
You know, it's funny because if they didn't do anything, if they didn't do anything against the elves, the elves would still fucking hate them because they're the elves. Fuck the elves. All my homies hated the elves.
Here that we'd have to deal with the Wood Elves before expanding further north. In order to eliminate the Wood Elves, we need to raise or occupy every city in Athel-Loren. I occupied both bordering Bretonnian cities above us to have a staging ground. We fought the Fey Enchantress, again, upgraded the defenses on our main peninsula, and re-recruited a second army. This one will be filled with entirely infantry to supplement Ikit's army. Now, Wood Elves are generally isolationists, so they rarely leave their lands. That is, except for Durthu. Our second army was back in Skavenblight, so we needed to sally out and fight 3 massive Wood Elf armies. Army 1, Army 2, and Army 3, meaning once again we'd have to fight this future desk. Outnumbering them 3-1, we started the battle, and before long, Durthu was taking no sass. Our Rattling Gunners had to keep kiting backwards, and after only 5 minutes, we'd taken 1,000 casualties. Still, we had insane numbers, so we gadded Durthu while he was bogged down and prepared to handle the second army. And handle, we did. We rallied our infantry and sent them into the meat grinder. As they say, if you're not dying, you're not trying. Despite most of the elf units being ranged, it's hard to compete with infinite ammo miniguns and corrosive poison. We routed the remaining elves and won the battle. With both armies gone, it left Durthu's only city open, so we sacked it for 15k, then came back a turn later and raised it. Wood Elf settlements are undesirable for Skaven, which translates to massive debuffs if we claim them, making the Elf War much harder. What was helpful was getting our first Plague Priest who can summon more rats during battles. And with our strategy, it would get kinda broken, because we'd also gotten access to one of our most powerful units, Poisoned Wind Mortars. Now let's talk about something close to all of our hearts, the Geneva Convention. You might be interested to know that the convention doesn't actually talk about chemical weapons. See, that's actually in a separate document called the Geneva Protocol, where it states that nations can't use all that cool fun stuff in war. But what it doesn't prohibit is the manufacturing, storage, and commercial use of chemical weapons. Therefore, if I fire off my mortar loaded with skin-eating toxins during an investor showcase, and it just so happens to land in the middle of a bunch of peasants, have I really done anything wrong? If anything, it's their fault for standing within 10 miles of me. Poison Wind Mortars are essentially our best anti-infantry unit, because they deal flat poison damage to all units, whether they hit elite infantry or Skaven slaves, we don't care. Which is especially relevant for our fight against the Wood Elves and their high-tier units. And on that topic, Orion was back. While he sat on the edge of our land, we took another Bretonnia settlement, got a trade agreement from a savvy investor, and much like NSFW Twitter, watched the Beastmen get clapped. We also got an event with the leader of our second army, leading to him getting badly mutated, which is apparently a massive combat bonus. How that makes sense, I don't want to know. To our right was Sartosa, a faction of undead pirates. We allied them and started to build an outpost, which would allow us to recruit their units. After sieging a few more Bretonnian cities, the Fey Enchantress attacked one last time. The fight was 10 minutes
still not fucking dead
of this. Winning meant that the Fey's faction was gone for good, not like that stopped another Bretonnian faction from continuing the war. And Lewin's army was completely terrifying, so we ignored it. Besides that, our expansion was going well, but one problem. See everyone with a red outline around their icon? That means they hate us. See all the people without a red outline? Yeah, neither do I. While we doubled our land, we were also in for a rude awakening, starting with the Wood Elves. At this point, we were at war with just about everyone. Sartosa was useless, and Grom the Paunch kept trying to make military alliances with me. Full disclaimer, he has one city. The Dark Elves didn't hate us too much, but every High Elf had declared war on us. So priority number 1, erase the Wood Elves. Orion, dead. Rebellion, dead. Ariel just chilling in some dead. We also intercepted an army and fought them in the woods. Seeing as they were outnumbered 5-1, we almost lost. I fortified our Wood Elf Under Empire, giving all units in the area Vanguard deployment. So in sieging their city, we could deploy all our units right on top of them. 5 seconds into starting the battle, and turns out mortars are pretty decent. We advanced into the city, had our reinforcements come in, and caught the AI bugging out on a barricade. You know, when you say line up against the wall, you don't actually expect them to do it. Running away didn't help either.
They're just very polite, man. Hating elves is a national sport everywhere. True. More like Geneva recommendation, am I right?
Probably hurt, actually. And with the battle won, we'd successfully taken Orion's capital. While we were doing that, we built up our Plague Priest capacity, which would give
more like Geneva suggestion, you know? I always felt it's more akin to like a Geneva, maybe don't do this, bro, but I'm a maverick, you know? I don't fucking stick by the rules, you know? A little bit of chemical warfare here and there doesn't hurt anybody important to me, so...
Army more clan rat summons. Sartosa also wanted us to join a war against the Tomb Kings, and as their stalwart military ally, no. Back to Athelorn, right in the center is the Yoke of Ages. It's kind of like that tree in Avatar with the blue hippies. Long story short, we cut it down. Another Wood Elf city later, and we'd taken half of Athelorn. Unfortunately, it opened us up to more attackers, like...
I am supreme!
Okay. Not even one turn later, an Empire army. Luckily, they walked straight into an ambush, and 68 seconds of fighting later, gone. Of course, right after, another ambush, with similar results. If you couldn't tell by this point, we're gonna be doing a lot of ambushes. Skaven, by default, can ambush any army they attack, and by leveling a certain skill, we ambush almost 100% of the time. At last, we sieged the final Wood Elf city, but now with some extra help. Our Plague Priest had gotten a Plague Furnace, which on top of just being big, scary, and morally questionable, actively damages all enemies around it. But even now, our Death Ball wasn't in its final form. That being said, the siege wasn't particularly crazy. It was really just a lot of... With Waterfall Palace occupied, we now controlled all of Athelorn. Moving ahead a little, we eliminated another Bretonnia faction, laughed in Grom's face again, and finally established relations with Arkan the Black. Considering my only friends are either undead pirates or undead Egyptians, my social credit score was not looking good. Speaking of social credit, I went ahead and checked who the most powerful faction by strength rank was. Turns out it was Taiwan, China. I said China. Now while our army was looking seriously powerful right about now, it also couldn't be everywhere at once. So while we took 1, 2, 3 more Bretonnian settlements, our armies were stretched thin. Still, I recruited 2 more Plague Priests to add to Ikit's army, because later in the game we need an even better army to deal with Ultimate Crisis mode. We sacked more of Bretonnia, iced some random High Elves, and recruited a 4th army, filling it with stuff. After occupying one of Bretonnia's last cities, they made a desperate attack to get a settlement back. Now, my garrison is hot garbage. King Lewin can beat all of them on his own. Sorta. So getting into the battle, we built some towers and defenses. Lewin's army was small, so we pelted down his infantry and accompanying heroes. Now here's the real problem. Big boy. We couldn't actually damage him because he has health regeneration. So instead, I let him rout my units and chase them off. See, flying units can't be alone. If they don't land to fight, they'll eventually forfeit the battle. So Lewin beating my units is cool and all, but what about these guys? By hiding on the other side of the map, Lewin could not physically get to us before the air unit penalty kicked in, causing him to have a midlife crisis and die of a stroke. As Sun Tzu once said in his book, The Art of Cheese, skill issue, lol. But the cheese...
True, to be fair, true.
Wasn't done yet. One of our core settlements was being sieged by High Elves. Good thing we had that 4th army. Oh my god. Calling that an army was an insult to the military-industrial complex. It was bad. And now fighting a legendary lord, Eltharion the Grim. The plan was simple. By running some spiky hamster wheels into the middle of their army, I banked on one thing, which worked. With 60% of their army dead in 1 second, we hit Eltharion with the old Expelliarmus and won the battle. Overall, everything was looking good. Ikit's army was getting better and better, our 4th army was adding doom wheels, and we conquered Bretonia. But as much as things were going our way, we had one final threat to worry about, because rapidly approaching was the endgame crisis. In Immortal Empires, there are 5 different endgame crises to choose from. A Tomb King's Crusade, Dwarf Invasion, Orc Wa, Wood Elf War, and Vampire Apocalypse. And we'd picked all 5, with 200% difficulty. And at this point, we only had 10 turns to prepare. We had alliances with the Vampire Counts, Demons of Chaos, and weren't totally hated by Malekith, so good enough. In line with stalling, I reinforced our garrisons and finished this horror of an army, which was on a wild goose chase against a random High Elf army. But they weren't alone, because our entire northern land was being invaded. With the endgame crisis now only 5 turns away, I decided to just demolish the buildings for money and leave the settlements. The goal was to try and defend our core provinces so we weren't stretched too thin. A little bit of preparation later, we were on our final remaining turn. Now before I show you what the ultimate crisis looks like, here's everyone we were at war with before I ended the turn. Here it is now. Vampire Counts invasion, check. Orc Wa, yep. Dwarves and elves, just a few. Oh, and Tomb Kings. How could I forget? In a matter of 1 turn, about 200 armies appeared out of thin air all around the world. And to make matters worse, goodbye, Athelloren. I'll see you in therapy. Oh, and remember Grom? This is him now. Something I didn't realize would happen was that the crisis automatically broke every treaty we had with Grom and Vlad. And the game acted as if we had broken them, so my reliability became 0. Now, while most places were essentially immediately overrun, our core provinces were safe. But given our proximity to both...
That seems... I guess the game doesn't want you to take advantage of like NPC's good ability to essentially like create a really big fucking army before the end game, but that penalty shouldn't apply then. The treaty thing is an option you can toggle on and off. Okay, that makes more sense then.
Athelloren and Mausilian, that didn't mean much. In terms of strength rank, we dropped to 28th, but don't worry, we're only at war with 1 through 27. We retreated back into our territory, stole Grom's capital for money, and watched Athelloren descend into chaos. On the bright side, all this time we've been peaceful with the Empire, so as long as we didn't do something stupid... Ah, right. I forgot I built that. Luckily, I don't think they noticed. Anyways, back to defending, I put armies on the bridges leading to our core lands. The Doomwheel squad got caught by 2 much larger Vampire Counts armies, so we blobbed up our units and advanced with our Rattling guns. But the Vampire army was way too large. Most of their monsters are designed to kill large units, so our front and back line were quickly overwhelmed. In summary, we got clowned. That left us with 3 other armies to defend the front line, so it get picked up the slack. With 5 Plague Priests, we could summon non-stop clan rats to block attackers, and making friendly fire even more acceptable. After winning the battle, Ikit fought another Wood Elf army. Using the same formula, we kited with the Plague Priests until the whole army had been finished off. But while Ikit was a powerhouse, he was also our solo carry, because our other armies got caught again by the Vampire Counts. Both armies were mostly fodder with a diverse combination of rats, undead pirates, and chaos warriors. Remember, all people are equally worthless. We lined up near the corner to wait for our reinforcements and use our mortars. But because our first army had no Rattling guns, they advanced across the field and broke our lines. Given their infantry are undead samurai and ours are that, it was no surprise we broke. Vargulfs and Crypt Horrors just ran over our infantry because we had nothing to stop them. By the end, we'd inflicted damage, but ultimately lost the battle and 2 of our 3 armies. That meant it was just Ikit against everyone. Simultaneously, our economy was losing ground, more armies were pouring in from the north, and the Tomb Kings were sailing up from the south. My list of at-war factions looked like a barcode. There was no chance we'd live much longer. So what could we do? Well, I mean, we could give up. As they say, it's about the journey and not the destination. Of course, whoever said that has clearly never driven to a Chick-fil-A on a Sunday. Locked door? No, I have the key. For a short campaign victory, we need to eliminate these 3 factions, which we've done, ruin 30 different settlements, also done, and level up the Forbidden Workshop to rank 3. For that, we just need a level 15 Warlock Engineer. And wouldn't you know, we had a level 13, which means we just needed one more battle, one grand and courageous conflict that would solidify our win. But who would we fight? Our arch enemy Durthu, or maybe the Red Duke and Mausilian? High Elves, Dwarves, Tomb Kings, the world was our oyster. So to finish the game, I did the only thing any honorable Skaven would do.
scurvy crew tell me you come to offer things, rodent.
Ah, yes, that our one ally in the entire world. You will make a worthy sacrifice. He probably skipped over the option, but you could ally with an endgame faction if you wanted.
Man.
Sure, in a way.
No honor.
At last, by defending ourselves from Sartosa, we've achieved a short campaign victory. Now we can get started on the...
I mean, Sartosa clearly put him in a self-defense situation, you know. Clearly, like, justified use of force.
long campaign victory. And, no.
The most Skaven ending to a Skaven campaign that ever Skavened, man. Lemao, he fucking gave it to Hero, I guess. Oh, Jesus Christ, man. And yeah, that was Breaking the Geneva Convention in Total Warhammer 3 by the Grim Clipper. Fun video. I'm assuming he does a lot of this sort of Warhammer thing. Oh wow, he doesn't upload often. God damn. Oh, he does a variety of things actually. That's nice. That's very, very nice. And we have arrived, ladies and gentlemen, at the inevitable, the conclusion to this the conclusion to the arc we have been lately on, you know, to see all of Homeworld and what it has to offer, you know. Culminating in this, Homeworld 3 review by MandaloreGaming, like the prophesized review, you know, the thing we've been building up for, for like more than a month now, I think, which is kinda insane if you think about it. And like, oh boy, I heard it's gonna be a little bit rough, but you know, I'm gonna keep an open mind. Maybe it's not that bad. Maybe some of chat just overreacted, you know. So yeah, let's see if Homeworld 3 lives up to Homeworld 2's legacy. I'm not gonna say Homeworld 1. I'm not gonna say Cataclysm because that's a legacy that Homeworld 2 didn't live up to, I think. But you know, we're getting glassed on Karak with this one. Well, the Xeno faction picked the glass him option without, you know, knowing the context, so they're bad, you know, they're bad. Whew. I mean, looks good, you know, looks good. I mean, it's a game that came out this year or 23. Gotta look that up real quick. Homeworld 3 came out this year, in May of this year. It literally came out 3 months ago, man. Holy, that is a recent ass game. 36% liked this video game on Google. What does Steam have to say about this? Mostly negative, 38% out of 4,400 reviews. 21% in recent reviews out of the last 30 days. Holy fuck. What is happening, man? What is happening? I would rather get devoured and melted in my ship by the beast. God fucking damn it. Okay, without further ado, let's get into it, man. Possibly from from everything I'm seeing, this may be the possibly the end of the Homeworld franchise, which is a little bit funny and a whole lot more sad than that, you know. Oh, yo! That's their old logo. That's not the one they got after defeating the beast. Okay, so that's what we've been talking about, the decanonization of Cataclysm. Okay. Oh man. Holy shit, Mandalore took this very badly. I mean that's a bastardization of a fucking great story, but it's often the case with spin-offs and such, you know. Maybe the rest of the story defends itself, you know, by making it by having a good story, you know. Maybe they have other things in the oven. Maybe they cooking.
After 20 years, Homeworld 2 finally has its follow-up. No prequel games, no spin-offs, this is Homeworld 3 proper. I had expectations going in, good and bad. I can safely say, I didn't expect 3 to remind me of Genesis Rising, because the gameplay there was definitely Homeworld inspired, and they wanted to take that even farther with 3D space, but they didn't have the time and budget. I was more reminded of some cutscenes where I had a very simple takeaway.
Whoa!
Is this some kind of fetish thing? Well, where Genesis Rising did not resonate, apparently Homeworld 3 has. So, holy shit. Still, even though I've racked my brain for weeks now thinking about the story,
I'm gonna need some context on that scene. Can we call in the lore masters? I'm assuming we'll get the context like later in the video, but
of Homeworld 3, and
trying to keep an open mind.
We'll get into that later. There's still a lot else to consider, like gameplay modes. 3 is heavily banking on one called War Games, which is a roguelike mode you can play in co-op. Apparently this is
a real-time strategy banking on a co-op mode. What the fuck? What's wrong with just playing PvP online? That's RTS is built for that, right? Like 4X and RTS games are built for, you know, competing with other players, and like you can play online with guys. I'm assuming this has online, but I'm assuming this has like online PvP, like skirmish and whatnot, but focusing on PvE modes, rather co-op modes, seems a little bit weird.
Isn't a side activity, but it's supposed to be the main draw of the game. At least that's how it comes.
That sounds fucking ridiculous. I'm sorry, that sounds misguided as all fuck. What the hell? That would be like a new Yakuza game coming out, and it's a fucking battle royale PvP oriented a game where you're fucking running around as, you know, Majima shooting dudes in the head. Except that would be way more hype than this.
Across when the entire post-launch support plan is all about wargames. There will be some new maps and other changes to Skirmish, but wow, they are all in on wargames. It is worth pointing.
I don't get it. That is a very weird decision. This is fucking laughable. Do they think, like, what do they think Civilization, why do they, like, Civilization, why is it so relevant up to now? Because you can play it against your friends, you can play it against, like, online dudes, and Civ is literally built upon adding new factions so you can fucking play new factions in PvP against other players. What are we doing? What are we talking about, dude? Like, what?
That out because I mean,
I'm sorry, I'm stuck on this, but this feels like a very baffling decision. Like, commercially, as a company, when you make a product, this just doesn't make sense, man.
We bought this for the campaign, but I will talk about all that stuff afterwards. A lot of features and mechanics obviously blanket cover the whole game, but if that is supposed to be the selling point of the game, I'll spend more—
The game looks fucking gorgeous, by the way, but, you know, it's a given since it's so recent.
More time on that than I would normally. Okay, so to give some story background, Homeworld 2 ended with the Age of Sajet. The magical hyperspace cores were slapped in the ancient vessel Sejuk, and the network of galactic hyperspace gates were opened. This brought a new age of peace and prosperity, and Karen was truly the chosen one. Homeworld 2
That would be like Bungie releasing a new marathon game and it would be an extraction shooter. God damn. Imagine if that happened, huh? That would be fucking crazy, huh? Man, I can't be... That would never happen. I'm still an outsider even after seeing the Cataclysm and Karak reviews, but I can already feel are the wrong dripping of this. Yeah, like, goddamn, co-op focused. Holy shit. Man, Bungie is so fucking cooked. Like, Bungie is just going nowhere in the future after all the fucking controversy they went through, man. Watch them launch Marathon, and it's still gonna be fucking successful because Destiny 2, like, people who are jacked in their way to fucking deep in will support the game anyway.
Story wasn't so good, but it's been over a century since then. You now play as Imogen Sajet, the granddaughter or pupil of Karen Sajet. She hangs out with Imogen when she's 6 or 7 and likes to sing lullabies to her. And I promise this is all relevant, because this is the most directly character-driven story in the franchise. Usually a character was a stand-in for an entire people or an ideology, and Deserts broke off from that a little bit, but there were bigger things going on than individual character arcs. Anyways, Imogen is a genius, and the granddaughter of the leader of Kith Sajet. She earns points fast too, because she seems to want to undo the prophecies and mysticism of the second game.
The synthetic hyperspace cores I designed were perfect, and I was to begin training a team of navigators. They were going to usher in a new age for my people, freeing us from reliance on ancient, unfathomable progenitor technology.
So far, so good. However...
Yeah, that's a good setup. That's a good setup, you know.
Imogen has been chosen to be fleet command for a new mothership. Being entombed inside of a ship is now called being a navigator. Before they were called Unbound, but it's the same thing, new name. The rush into service is due to something called the Anomaly, which is affecting the hyperspace network. After a few Boeing tier malfunctions, Karen Sajet was sent back in with her ship, the Kar Sejuk. She went beyond contact, but the anomaly stopped.
Oh man, that is quite the choice of words. Boeing tier malfunctions. Holy.
That was 20 years ago. Until now, when the anomaly region suddenly reactivated and threw out tons of space debris, killing billions. It's too targeted to be random, so something is trying to wipe out all of galactic civilization, and the stakes are impossibly high.
Every simulation we've run results in the total collapse of galactic civilization.
So Imogen, already having made synthetic hyperspace cores and basically being the leading expert on the subject, makes the most sense to send in immediately because there's no time to train other navigators. The journey takes you across the galaxy trying to find the source of the anomaly, and trying to find out what happened to Karen's jet 20 years ago. Without spoiling anything, the story feels a bit like Homeworld 2 2.0. A lot of the concepts here were planned for the original 2, but they proved too ambitious and demanding for 2003. Like having gigantic megastructures you can navigate inside and around, compared to the actual release, which just had them mainly in the background. There were some structures, but not too mega, and even the remasters didn't try to touch that up. They did pull off having these massive structures, but let's look at everything else visual too.
I see!
When it comes to the interface, the good news is that some improvements are made after the public demo.
Man,
Because
whoever said that I need to watch Genesis Rising before this, you the fucking MVP, man. That was definitely a good choice.
Game was delayed again. Even though there are tabs I wish I could remove, like gameplay events or speech recall, you can at least scale the entire interface now. In fact, all the controls and visual indicators are extremely customizable. You can even choose a baseline preset, in my case the Homeworld Remaster controls, and then work from there. It can take time to get all your space paperwork in order, or your fleet roster will switch around if there's an option buried for it somewhere. But the big one—
that's good. Options are good, you know.
Ones can be taken care of, and the one to point out especially is NLIPS, which stands for Nonlinear Inverse Perspective Scrolling. In human terms, in the old games when you zoomed out, some ship models would actually scale up a bit, just to make them more easily selectable and see what they're doing, and if you zoomed in, it would go back to the normal scale. The effect worked so well that it was fairly hard to notice if you didn't know about it. As for Homeworld 3, it was bad in the demo, so they added a scaling option, and it's still fucking horrible. These are tiny strike craft, and the sense of scale is completely broken. For reference, here's how big it should actually be. Where you couldn't tell before, you can almost see the ships actually scaling with the camera this round. I'd imagine if you don't know about this setting, it makes the scale and feel of fights incredibly strange, to the point that it looks like fighters would barely fit inside the carriers they're chasing, or your tiny probes look like large warships. And this is all on the bare minimum scaling option. There's a chance you still might find this handy, but for the most part, this looks insane, so I'd recommend most people turn that off. Because with all the tools at your disposal, it's still easy to keep track of things. It's just that now you could do it without your ships— oh, fuck. Anyway, I do like the look of the new mothership, the Kar Kushan. Compared to the Pride of Hagara, this does properly look meant for war and exploration. If you did like the old vertical view, you can rotate it, and there are a few cases where that's helpful in combat. It has point defense weapons on rails on the sides of it, so you can rotate it around to get a better firing solution. You don't get an opportunity that often, but it is cool when you do.
Yeah.
It's a very sleek and efficient ship, and the same can be said for the entire Hagaran fleet. For example, this time around frigates come in all kinds of variations, but
let me just reposition myself a little bit. Independence Day Resurgence ship. Oh man. Don't fucking do them this dirty, man. Oh man.
This time you can really tell they're a variant. When you inspect them, you can see the different weapons, the size of the hull can change around. The previous games were like this too, but the roster was more spread across the classes. You could have 5 kinds of strike craft that looked radically different, or move up into different kinds of corvettes, or even capital ships. They had clear design styles, and even with Homeworld 2 having a more space boat look, they still kept that. So going back to Homeworld 3 frigates, individually they are well thought out and well designed spacecraft. They look appropriate for their role and are fitting for what Hagara is now. They're sleek, wedge-shaped death machines.
The maps are fucking amazing, man. The maps are like the clear best thing I've seen so far. Like this ice planet asteroid thing that you supposedly can like fly into. That looks fucking cool. How did they fuck this up? How did they fuck this up, man?
But in a group, they get tricky to tell apart. It's not really a gameplay issue because you should be grouping them properly, but as a collective, they're just not that visually interesting, and the one ship that does break the mold is the support frigate. Again, they are all the same ship class, so this does make sense logically. The problem is the rest of the roster. Higarans now only have one kind of corvette, which does look to be an evolution of a mover. When you get a destroyer, it's the same wedge shape as the frigates. And the battlecruiser gets wider, but it's a similar profile. Thankfully, the carrier is an exception, and there are other unique designs inside the fleet, but most of it is incredibly uniform now. There could still be a theme to this, like the Higarans are completely united and their enemies have varying ships because they're not. The thing is, the faction you fight for most of the game, the Incarnate, has the exact same problem. Most of their roster looks like deformed cigars, which you would think would stand out from your own ships, but together, they're still remarkably similar. For how many designs and silhouettes this franchise has had, most of them now being a funky rectangle, feels very underwhelming. You know, when you went to the Garden of Kadesh, they were a branch of your own people, but their ships still felt exotic and alien. The Incarnate seem like they should be even more bizarre than you, but visually, they're pretty similar. And I don't know if it's that way thematically, or if they're supposed to be easier to pick out when playing something like war games. They're slightly taller craft, but I wish they twisted that farther. To clarify, I don't think they're bad designs, but I think each faction needed more ships to break those molds. It's still a visually gorgeous game. The space structures are impossibly gigantic, but also full of detail. Regardless of the designs, all the ships are high fidelity too, especially for a strategy game. They can still have creative animations and other nice little touches to them. Even down to the smallest craft, there was a lot of love put into these. It's still one of those games where it's tempting to zoom in on a ship and watch the action for a while. There's great use of light and shadows, and some parts do look amazing. There's some really visceral destruction effects this time too, which does make it a shame there's no proper ramming. As for what I don't like, this is another one of those Unreal games without separated post-processing options, which means you can't control individual effects like bloom or depth of field. On top of that, most maps have some kind of dust or fog or particle clouds around. Then you have your limited anti-aliasing options, and then
I fucking hate bloom, man. I want it off in every single fucking game.
Whatever upscaler you choose if you go that route. But in short, and it might not show up on YouTube, there's this subtle kind of blur effect over everything. Your ships are already being obscured by fog most of the time, and then you have the rendering settings on top of that. There's not a single map just out in the void of space. There are other problems attached to that, which I'll get into soon, but it's funny that the closer you get to that, the more your ships actually pop out. Even though the remasters are years old now, they have this sharp clarity to them that 3 doesn't. And no, this isn't my first rodeo, there are plenty of other Unreal titles drowning in post-processing nowadays. But man, I wish more games still give you direct control of those options. It's still a very pretty game, just keep in mind it's also a CPU-bound one. Your settings should be fine most of the time, but the big battles can always chug. To take a more radical turn, I also want to talk about the cutscenes. It was a very slow march to get here, but you could still track it. In games like the original or Cataclysm, you could tell the Kushan were humanoid, but you weren't quite sure if they were.
I understand bloom to hide mistakes or if you're going from indoors to outdoors, but it shouldn't last. Yeah, like when you have this big fuck off fight and it's like...
I also want to talk about most of the time, but...
When you have this big fuck off fight and everything is just burning your eyes, it gets a little bit silly, you know. Having ways to suit the picture to your eye with graphics options would be nice.
It was a very slow march to get here, but you could still track it. In games like the original or Cataclysm, you could tell the Kushan were humanoid, but you weren't quite sure if they were human. It seemed like they could be, but they were always obscured in shadow or had strange designs that made you second guess, because they weren't really the focus.
Kingdom Hearts 2 has screwed us again.
He needs to stop playing that fucking... He needs to stop playing that soundbite because I don't know the context and it scares me.
The captain of the Kunlun is a character, but really, he represents all of Kith Samta. Karen Sajet is also a character, but really, she's all the Kushan. Fleet Intelligence is also just another facet of that. All of the Bentus you run into in the franchise are voiced by Campbell Lane. They could be the exact same character, but it doesn't matter. He's essentially all the Bentusi, and your lizard brain gets that. Then Homeworld 2 came and said, they're all definitely human by the way. The cutscenes still maintain that style, and there wasn't personal human drama. I mean, I guess there was Makan, but whatever his people were up to, it was so unclear, they were actually called the Vagar. Then you have deserts, and they're even more on the screen, and there's a little more human drama. It is weaker compared to the greater underlying tragedy of everything else going on, but it drove the story forward and was ultimately a minor detail in that bigger story. So when 3 opens with Imogen in full view humming her comfort lullaby, it seems like it might be deserts and this will taper off. But you soon come to realize this is going to be a character drama. There is now a human face attached to everything and everyone. It's a subtle effect, but it manages to undercut some things.
Hear me now. I use your barbaric tongue to deliver an ultimatum.
Oh, I'm sorry about that, give me a second. There he is. Just in case you thought the Incarnate might be aliens or...
Oh my fucking god, why would you do this? Why would you do this? This literally removes like part of the fucking cool factor of the game. You know, the mystery, like, ooh, who could they be? What could they look like? And the image in your head will always be fucking cooler than whatever the character designers can come up with, man. What the hell? When Homeworld starts to look like a modern Square Enix game, that's not one problem, that's several. That is very true.
Something strange, or, God forbid, thinking that the ship might really represent the character.
This is Pack Leader Baldrokas. I have demands of your sage.
Who? Maybe this was another role with the RPGs and other spin-off media it has. It feels like we've lost a lot of mystique.
You thought they were cool aliens? Nah, just humans.
Beyond that, the more simple cutscenes from before were something unique about the games. Now we're firmly in the uncanny valley. They're going for high fidelity, but character lines don't quite match the lip syncing, but above that, the characters can be wildly over-animated for their delivery.
I don't... This isn't... Where am I? Intel, this is Fleet Command. Please come in. Does anyone read me? Sans and sinners, how did I get here?
I'm not...
Bro, this is fucking Square Enix cutscene. What the fuck? Why are we playing like Final Fantasy 13 free, man? What happened to Homeworld? Do they remember what Homeworld was about? I'm starting to lose some of that positivity I had going into this, you know? But you know, it's cool, it's fine, you know. Just keep going. Don't lose faith now.
Sure why they went with this direction, but I did find something interesting while reading the game's manual, which was written by Homeworld's original writer. It has all the new history, ship information, but something else caught my attention. It's Imogen's first line, which, if you read it before the game, is her introduction. Just Imogen is fine. My project director told me I had to put a human face on things, so here I am. I thought that was interesting. When it comes to the game's soundscape, overall, it's still great. You hear the rattling of ballistics and the punch of heavier weapons, and it maintains the professionals under stress voice acting.
That's music to my ears. You can hear the fucking like machine gun winding up, man. Holy. That's some good sound effects. Holy shit.
I'm too happy about it. Ops, advise caution during crew transfer.
There have been some
How did they fuck this up, man? How did they fuck this up?
Noticeable changes. Some sound effects like explosions seem to be more muffled this round. I don't know if that's to balance it against the rest of the mix, or if it's supposed to be more internal explosion. Which would be an odd choice because Homeworld never cared about realistic sound for the better, but it was the one thing there that made me curious. As for voiceover, it's the busiest the games have ever been, with one interesting exception.
Group 1 copies.
When selected, units no longer declare their group number, but instead the groups are more accounted for in the dynamic battle chatter. You're fed more direct information from Imogen.
Watch Group 2. They're taking losses.
That's a fine trade-off because there's so much battle chatter now without something more ham-fisted. And let me tell you, Machine for Pigs didn't have as many ham-fists as some of these cutscenes. But in the main game, everything is very good. Like, ships will even announce what they're engaging and add more direct context into the fight.
Lead into it. Yes, copy. Front identified. Enemy carrier. Fast and loose, in and out.
I hope engineering replaced those relays, or this is going to be a short trip.
While it is very good, my only letdown on this front was the music. It's the same composer, he's still using a wide amount of instruments, but the music is much more ambient.
Hostile Corvette. ID confirmed.
Engaging on our position.
I mean, that's fine, I guess. Weirdly sounds more like something you would hear in Deserts of Karak, which is kind of weird, but you know, maybe it's symbolism.
It's understated in a way the previous games haven't been. Like someone had an idea that the music shouldn't be too bombastic or else that'll distract from the gameplay. I cranked it up in the mix and there were times where it was hard to tell if music was playing at all, and it usually was, just very spaced out percussion. I mean, even the cutscenes, which are completely curated and you can time them however you want, still don't have high energy. The final mission music sounded like it could be anywhere else in the game. It is so strange, especially considering where things were before.
Group 10 reports enemy contact.
Confirmed. Moving to destination. Heavy fire confirmed. Ready.
Cryogenic trays have been processed, and our colonists are safe for now.
This one is so fucking good, man. It's crazy how much of Homeward 1's soundtrack reminds me of Halo. You know, the most fucking iconic soundtrack of any game ever, pretty much.
I guess it's good there's so much unit chatter. Maybe someone thought the music would interrupt that? There is one solid moment, but it's a spoiler, so that'll have to be for later. It's still a fleeting one, and I don't know why the rest is like this. It is disappointing, but otherwise, I would still say the audio and visuals of the game are in a good spot. Actually, I would say they're currently the best part of the game. So now you know I'm about to talk some shit. Talking gameplay, I'm going to assume you know about Homeworld. Either you've played it, you've watched my videos, you've watched someone else's, it doesn't matter. I don't want to be retreading a lot, but I will start with what's good. Having so many control and interface options around is welcome. There's a hotkey for selecting damaged units in a group, and it makes redocking for repairs easy. You can go as far as customizing the exact percentage that would count as damaged. Your shipbuilding icon shows how many you already have, which could be redundant, but it is nice. If you find everything too overwhelming, you can pause or slow down the game to give orders in. I don't use it, but it's a handy option, and the game has tons of handy options and features like that. I could go through a lot, but the problem is the basic things that aren't in the game or non-functional. Then add on a pile of behavior problems, missing features from previous games that would have made a lot of sense here, and then the general balance on top of all of that. So let's start with Grug Brain RTS basics. Unit stances are a good place to start. Will they chase their enemies, hold their ground and shoot, or do nothing? In previous Homeworld games, these would affect a ship's maneuverability and firepower. Aggressive would have you dish out more firepower while being less maneuverable, and evasive was the opposite, and neutral was a nice balance. There were also tactics, which is usually what you think of stances being, where it decides how they engage with the enemy. Do they chase them or hold still? 3 only has regular RTS stances, which is a step down, but the behaviors are bizarre, because they're also kind of combined with the old stance system. So aggressive ships chase enemies down until one of them dies. Simple. Then neutral ships will chase enemies a short distance, but are mainly just defending themselves or nearby vessels. But they'll also try to maneuver around objects in space to use them as cover. So for example, you can't send fighters out to chase something using less firepower but using cover, you can only choose between those two options. Those don't really go together, but then there's the third option, which is passive, where a ship does not attack unless it's attacked. That turns it into a bit of a brick, but what if you have a long-range ship like a torpedo or ion frigate, and you want it to hold position and fire from max range? Not only is that not possible to order, but torpedo frigates are completely broken. They...
What do you mean? The sniper unit that is made to be a sniper can't hold position and fucking fire from it. Have they played a fucking strategy game in their fucking life?
Only fire from max range, and will even retreat back in order to do so. If you've played the game and wonder why they wander all over the place, that's why. The issue is, even if they fix this, there's no way to make them just hold position and shoot. The old games didn't have this either, but you could assign them to guard mode to a ship, and if that ship stayed still, they'd also hang out there. It wasn't perfect, but they behaved, and the core problem is Homeworld 3's ships do not, along with everything else buggy that can happen. You can order support frigates to guard a ship to heal it and vessels around it, and it works sometimes. Which is similar to some occasions where units forget they're alive and just sit there until you poke them. You tell Strikecraft to dock and instead they don't and keep getting in fights. You know, I've played RTS games where some functions just never worked, and you learn to live with that. It's like the difference of your internet being out compared to agonizingly slow. I don't have a better way to put it, all the Higaran pilots seem fucking plastered. Friends, it has been years since I played an RTS game that was this inconsistent. And I'm including the launch version of Warhammer 3. I know it's gotten a lot better, but it's not time yet. To make it more maddening, it's inconsistent across game modes. It seems like guard mode works way better in war games, and I don't know why. Like, check this out, even the torpedo frigates are acting correctly here. Or here where, well, the support ship got a bit lost. But then you'll notice sometimes functions aren't working due to game balance. Like, take the Kar-Kushan. It's a big centerpiece vessel that you can easily concentrate a fleet around. But for some reason beyond me, for a ship this big, it moves like Jesse Owens. It's outrunning the fleet that's trying to guard it, and the campaign gives you a passive speed up.
What are we... Yo? What are we cooking, man? This is just bizarre. This is just strange a little bit, if you ask me. It's like they made a strategy game, but instead of focusing on core gameplay, which is strategy games, all about gameplay, man. Literally all gameplay. And then if you get aesthetics in, people will be like, oh, this looks fucking great, man. And they've instead like focused on the aesthetics and forgot about the gameplay? What?
Upgrade on top of that. The result is a gargantuan fuck you factory ship that moves really fast, with units that are very inconsistent in their behaviors. This makes the most viable strategy blobbing everything around it and just charging forward. With the state of the game, the tactical options around that are just too unreliable, especially when the time to kill for ships is ridiculously fast even after the buffs they made after the demo. I'm
cooking meth, it looks like.
Jesse, we need to put in the giant woman, Jesse. Jesse, skin tight suits, Jesse.
Yo, Mr. White, we're making a strategy game here.
What the fuck is a strategy game, Jesse?
3 can't catch up with what the broken and buggy Genesis does mechanic-wise. A game from 2007, if I'm correct. Let alone match what previous entries did. Put things into perspective, doesn't it? God damn. And they say video games aren't that bad. Video game industry isn't fucking regressing, man. Like, people will toot that horn till they're fucking dead, but like then you get games like this. Like, every game into a pre-established franchise somehow misses like almost all of the points from the previous entries. Like, it's happening again and again and again and again. And at what point do we just admit, yeah, game industry kind of lost its way slightly? Like, I'm fully expecting Civ 7 to be... Civ 6 is already a step down from Civ 5. I'm expecting Civ 7 coming up to be not that fucking great, man. Which then, of course, will be fixed with DLCs. You know, the fucking mechanics that were their base game in the previous one will be DLC now. Yummy, eat that slop, eat that slop.
Melted through one of the bosses so quickly that it actually started skipping his lines. Battle cruisers, which should be terrifying, are instead just pitiful. And unfortunately, this goes for yours too. Once again, except in war games, where they're buffed up and very dangerous, and also behave better. For whatever reason, a lot of ships will only try to engage each other on a similar plane, instead of using all of 3D space to fight from whatever's a good firing angle. Sure, one effect is the battles don't physically look as dynamic, but more importantly, it goes in the list of why isn't my ship doing what I told it to. It might be trying to line up evenly with an enemy, like they're space jousting, or the enemy ships will slam face down into yours, like a school of Amazonian catfish who just smelled the biggest Gushers enjoyer take a hot piss in the river. I am sorry if this is more disorganized, but there are so many
who wants to bet this is why ramming is not in the game, because the units would randomly ram into enemies and like fucking, you know, Japan war pilot themselves into a fucking battleship and do like no damage. I hate the whole wait for DLCs mindset now. It's fucking crazy we de-evolved to wait for DLCs, man. Jesus fucking Christ. It was... Remember when it was just... first, it was the game releases and you expect it to be the complete package, you know? Then we moved the goalpost to wait for updates, usually small updates, yeah, like day one DLC, day one patch, and the patch the next week will fix most of the issues, and then wait 6 months for fucking updates and fixes for the game to be stable before playing, and now it's wait 6 months for the expansion that you have to fucking pay for that will fix the issues of the base game. Oh my fucking god.
Enemy ships will slam face down into yours, like a school of Amazonian catfish who
like this has to be why they disabled ramming.
Just smelled the biggest Gushers enjoyer take a hot piss in the river. I am sorry if this is more disorganized, but there are so many issues hitting at once, it's hard to pick where to start. It's like being attacked by a bear and my head is on fire, I don't know what to scream about first. Okay, let's roll back a bit to the time to kill thing. How do you mitigate it without a flat health buff? What they settled on was directional damage. If you hit the enemies from the sides and the back, it'll hit them harder. The previous games had this as well, and the best tactic, like here, is to hit them in the back. The issue is enemies already die from the front quickly enough, and unless they're strikecraft, the time you spent maneuvering around them could have just been spent killing them. Well, Homeworld 2 beefed up capital ships and added subsystems. Cataclysm sort of had this first, but this is a way better implementation. Besides letting you customize and upgrade your ships a bit more, it made capital fights a lot more tactical. You could target enemy missile batteries or facilities that made smaller craft. They were longer fights and more engaging because you decided what to cripple first. Directional armor was still in play too, so you had a lot to consider. Capital ship battles could still become a blobby slugfest, but during that you could play the game on a micro level, launching bombing runs in facilities, filling their fuel tanks with sand, whatever. It was maybe the best gameplay addition Homeworld 2 brought, and it's not here. Now, the gameplay reason is that... I don't know. I don't have all the answers. I don't know what's going on.
I gotta get you out of here!
The closest thing you get is that some campaign maps
that game I don't know
have a facility you can take down that'll stop enemies from spawning there, but that is separated from the core fights. There's a lot of other features that would make sense to have, like we're back to building individual strike craft and not squadrons like Homeworld 2, and in the campaign, battle damage to your ship stays between missions. So then, why not have the veterancy from Cataclysm or Deserts of Carrick? Actually, if the mothership is going to be so proactive now, that power shunting mechanic could have been great here too. And yeah, I know it's usually low-hanging fruit to go, the new games don't have things the old games had. I would understand more if Homeworld 3 was just different, but it's a step backwards in multiple areas. So let's talk about things that are new, like unit abilities. In the demo, these had no drawbacks, and you would basically want to spam them as soon as they were off cooldown. In theory, you could time them more tactically, but there was barely a reason to with the fast cooldown, and the effects would usually be a flat speed or damage buff, or some kind of active extra damage ability. A few of these were reworked before launch to have some kind of trade-off, so some have more thought.
That was Darkest of Days or something like that. It was his most recent review. Okay.
But others are still click every 45 seconds for extra targeted damage. So a lot of the micro potential is selecting a ship to use an ability to shoot a ship you were already shooting, or increase the max range of torpedo frigates temporarily, which currently makes them more of a problem. The mothership's missile is neat, but it's in the same territory. If you could auto-cast a bunch of these, I bet people would do it and not look back. Plus, you already can auto-cycle some like the Bomber's Cloak. There are precious few utility abilities, and some are just bad, like do you want to turn off all the battlecruiser's guns to buff its allies? Though with how bad the battlecruiser is, maybe that's okay. Once again, the abilities could make sense if you're having to maneuver into a vulnerable position and then fire away, and maybe it had a longer cooldown, but the time to kill is already so fast that that factor doesn't matter. And all of this factors into the space structures as well. You can use them as physical cover or to hide from sensors, or navigate through tunnels. They introduce it as a great way to flank enemies, vanishing from sensors, appearing somewhere else, and then hitting them from the back. Or you can do a kind of Death Star run through a trench to avoid enemy fire. Unfortunately, it only comes across as a gimmick, and even when it's first introduced, you can completely ignore it to no consequence. The idea of space cover is interesting, but ultimately, I just wished I could stick vessels onto the mothership. If they could stick to a side of it consistently, that rotation move could be really fun. Right now the cover is rarely useful, and if you set them to the stance to utilize it more, they'll usually weave between it and expose them to more fire. Which means you have to babysit them to use it effectively, when you could just be death blobbing again. Homeworld 3's problem is multiple design and functionality issues colliding at once. On paper, I understand how all of this should work, but it doesn't right now. Even if it did, it's still streamlined down from 20 years of games that came before. The entire USP of the game is built around a feature you can mainly ignore, and this also ended up hurting the campaign. There are 13 missions, a few of those are basically tutorials, and you feel very limited until about mission 7. They at least try to make the mission structure unique every time. It could be capturing points, a defense mission, a long battle with a boss fight. The issue here is that most of these maps are dominated by megastructures, and they're also small. You might have noticed this, but there is barely any footage of me using my sensors menu because I rarely needed it. There are no long treks across space or using nebulas anymore. Starting off in the skies of Hagara does look amazing, but you're still above a planet and you never go to the emptiness of space. You have nothing to actually contrast the megastructures against, and this makes everything feel closed in and limiting, and the gameplay mechanics just push that harder. To make it worse, as short and simple as these early missions are, you are bombarded with cutscenes. You can be interrupted multiple times in the space of 2 minutes, and some are just nothing. I just need to capture some points and, oh damn it. When the mission is done, you're then automatically sent to the next with no control on your end. You can still capture everything to make a death fleet, which is easier than ever, and this makes the game a cakewalk, so I tried to avoid that actually. Either way, the campaign feels small, with rushed and jarring pacing, which feels insane to say looking at these environments. Not that they have a 3-week elevator or anything, but man. And there were lots of other things too that didn't return from previous games, but it just feels like nitpicking when the core of the game is in this state. Besides, there's still a whole story and more to talk about, and if you don't want spoilers, skip to here.
That's the... I mean, that's literally the part everybody came here for, so... Weird that this Space Trek game lacked the space part of that, and apparently the Trek part of that.
Alright, let's do it. Imogen is sent to track down Karen, who Hagaran Command has lost communication with. To be extra safe, Command will be cutting off communication with Imogen immediately. Good start. But first, the Kar-Kushan needs production facilities installed at Space Station 315. Until, of course, you're ambushed by pirates. There's a lot I find interesting about this. There's a large tray that floats over with dramatic music, which evokes the cryo trays from Homeworld proper. How the pirates are introduced and the look of them is very similar to the Tyrannic Raiders. It's like they're trying to remix the visuals, but without the substance, because Carrick isn't burning, and you're not essentially discovering aliens for the first time. Though the number 315 is an activation phrase for me. It makes me think of James 3:15, and we'll use the King James version. This wisdom descendeth not from above, but is earthly, sensual, devilish. Then this is followed up in 3:16 with, for where envying and strife is, there is confusion in every evil work. This is very appropriate today. Basically, these passages and the ones before are discussing what true wisdom is. In context, self-centered envious people who think they have wisdom do not have true wisdom. In this case, divine wisdom that comes from God. You're not truly wise if you think you got there by being dishonest and generally horrible, which is dead on for one of the characters. And sure, it is just a number, it can mean any biblical passage or be their door passcode, but it's something. Something for me to think about besides them trying to push their stupid catchphrase.
Sands and sinners. Sands and sinners, how did I get here?
Sands and sinners. You have to push through it.
If you drop a line like this 3 times in 3 minutes, most people are going to catch on to what you're trying to do. I'm very sorry, but I will not be buying a t-shirt today. When it comes to writing, there are more signs of little things having gone wrong. Like Fleet Intelligence Officer Isaac identifies the enemy as Kalen pirates, giving you pointers to take them down, and then later Imogen asks who they are and he explains that they're Kalen pirates. Sure, it's an inconsequential detail, but very early in the game. Probably a small thing that had to be rearranged for some production reason. I look at this in a different light now because I've seen the credits. Can you guess how many people have a narrative credit on the story? 3? Maybe 4? Now it could be they were generous, and if anyone had any story idea, they got a writing credit. I've consulted on some story stuff in games before without that kind of credit. I don't think there was ever a writing room with 14 people, at least, God, I hope not, but I have a deep suspicion this story may have gone through some huge revisions and it was a very messy process. Anyhow, the pirates can hyperspace through solid matter. This technology should be beyond them, and Isaac says they're not smart enough to do it themselves. The Higarans themselves can't do this, so where do they get this technology? Being new to Fleet Command, Imogen is deeply affected by hearing pilots die. After Sands and Sinners, this is where I truly realized there would not be much subtlety in the writing. Things you could figure out have to be spelled out to you.
The losses. But I don't want to forget them.
May the burden remain.
Sorry?
It's an old Pactu saying. Even in victory, there is loss. Forget that, is to forget them. May the burden remain.
This reminds me of a great line from Homeworld.
Extermination of our planet was the consequence. The subject did not survive interrogation.
And it just lingers on the shot of space. That says everything. If that scene took place in this game, Imogen would ask, "What do you mean? Their methods were harsh." Isn't that wrong? They destroyed our planet, Imogen. It doesn't mean we have to be monsters too. I am getting ahead of myself because you haven't seen the melodrama.
True, man. Oh, no room for subtlety in the fucking year of our Lord 2024, you know?
This game has, but it genuinely feels like a
beating you over the fucking head with a fucking hammer until you get it. Do you get it? Do you fucking get it? Do you fucking get it now? Sons and sinners. Sons! Do you get it? Sons! They come from a fucking sun planet, man. Jesus fucking Christ.
YA novel. When Imogen said she felt horrible for their losses but didn't want to forget them, and Isaac said let the burden remain.
14 writers, 0 editors, I guess. 14 writers, but how many of them were, you know, sober?
You could probably put 2 and 2 together, and a super genius like Imogen probably would too. It is possible this is a way of showing her character isn't connected to...
Although at this point, after Disco Elysium, I think like we used to joke about how writers are on crack or drunk of their mind or whatever. After Disco Elysium, I think the problem is the writers are too sober actually to write good. After Disco Elysium, I'm like, get them crack, man. Get those writers some speed so they can write something interesting. This is 1200 years after Karak, so why are they going on about Sans still? Yeah, this is my fucking question too. Like, I get not forgetting your heritage, but this just sounds like they are bringing up, you know, those games that were actually good and had a good story. You will listen to our story and you will like it. Yeah, man.
Kushan culture. Besides being entombed in the core, she has an extra set of literal walls around her. But she's not cold, or I don't care how many lives it takes, the mission comes first. She clearly already cares about her people and feels awful when she loses them. So at worst, it seems like she spent most of her time in a laboratory doing STEM nerd shit and doesn't know some basic things and is just kind of awkward. Whenever she jumps to hyperspace, she has strange visions of what appear to be Stinger Flynn's island. A mysterious voice calls out to her, telling her to impose her will. I kind of wish I wrote a will before playing the fucking game. When you finally catch up to the Kaelin pirates, they call you the War Sage and accuse you of working for her. They don't elaborate on what this is, but change their mind during the fight, saying they're caught between an oblivious giant and a mad guy.
Just look at what Stephen King did when he was on drugs. Yeah, exactly, man. Winners don't do drugs. Okay, maybe, but writers should do drugs.
God. They die before they can drop any more hints, but Isaac still delivers a rousing speech to the crew. He gives them the full declassified mission briefing so they know the stakes, know how dangerous the anomaly is, but reassures them they have the finest ship and navigator in the entire fleet. It's a dense speech, but when Imogen asks if what he said was true, she clearly means, does he really think she's the best navigator?
Do you truly believe that, Isaac?
No.
Believe what?
What you just told the fleet.
Out there, in battle, doubt can kill you just as fast as hard vacuum. They need you to bury yours, so they can overcome theirs.
So, we lie to them?
Isn't that immoral?
I think what I hate so much about this is, it's the exact opposite of Homeworld Cataclysm. The Somta were a looked down upon mining clan who rose to a galactic challenge and succeeded. They won in spite of their lowly status, using tools not meant for the job. Imogen Sajet is a super genius who was mentored by Karen Sajet when she was 5. She's the granddaughter of the space president and flying the most advanced ship ever. When Isaac gives a speech to rally their already wounded forces, she finger-wags him for being slightly dishonest, and the dishonesty is implied to be about his faith in her particularly. This goes beyond self-doubt into just being self-centered. He's trying to keep the crew together as billions are dying, but since they wanted to tell a story about Imogen's self-doubt, it all comes across as extremely petty and stupid. It almost seems like there was a reason the series didn't have much direct character drama. Trailing Karen, they discover the Incarnate, who bear the sign of Sejuk. They're able to use scavenged progenitor tech and seem like they
I really need to go have a bathroom break because because I think like the next 12 minutes will really bust my fucking balls, so I need them in pristine condition before like the ball crashing commences, you know? So I'll be right back. And also, yeah, like it's really fucking hot here and I'm about to get heated, so oh man. And I'm back with working audio, I think. Whew. Insert the legend about Morrowind's writer being on a week-long coke bender. I hope that legend is true, because Morrowind's setting is like a primordial fucking memory of another world that came to somebody in a dream that was beamed to him by a outer god that decided to make contact with humanity via this method of sending down a dream about his home planet, because fucking Morrowind is so... Morrowind has such an alien setting. I sometimes think it ain't human work, you know. We can't think this abstract. Just have to piss off before getting pissed off. You know what they say, it's better to be pissed off than to get pissed on, which is exactly what fucking Gearbox did to all of the fans of Homeworld, with Homeworld 3, apparently. Oh. So let's get back in there, you know. Let's get back into the story of Homeworld 3.
Have some connection to the voice in Imogen's hyperspace mind palace, but get this, Karen, while comatose, is there too, and Imogen reminisces on all the time they spent together when she was a child.
Always remember the things I've taught you, Imogen, no matter what the future brings. You are going to burn very bright, my little star. I know goodbyes are hard. Let me sing our lullaby.
I'm convinced there is no way Imogen wasn't Karen's daughter or granddaughter in a previous draft. The reveal she's related to the space president is very brief and never brought up again, and all her flashbacks with Karen seem way more familial. Like they hung out that much when she was a kid to the point that they have a special lullaby. Everything is too intense for just a mentor or Karen's legendary status. This is either Gran or a band from a school zone.
I like the cut, G.
The dream voice is real, and so is Karen. Through hyperspace, unbound, whatever, they're all connected mentally. Karen really is comatose somewhere, and the voice wants Imogen to find her. But the Incarnate are hell-bent on slowing her down, including obliterating the entire planet so they could hyperspace the chunks in to try and destroy her. The Incarnate are obviously somehow behind the anomaly, killing millions just for a chance to take down the Car Kushan. Of course, Imogen turns to her lullaby.
Zealots, deluded fanatics, worse than the Gulsian.
Worse than the Galcian. Those guys who are completely correct? Maybe I'm just crazy, but after their prophecy was proven entirely true, and the survivors, including the Galcian, understood the context that led to their religion, I would think that maybe the perception of them has changed in the hundreds of years since that game. But if you're just trying to make an epic reference without thinking it through, you go, the Galcian were zealots in that game, I'll just bring that up. I hate to say it, but this is genuine, did you actually play the game's territory?
Also, they're kinda, you know, there were like an local threat to them, but we're talking about people who did a fucking planetary bombardment at the same time on like how many? Dozens? Hundreds of planets? You think the people who fucking wanted to live in the desert and not let you go into space are as bad as them? What? What are we talking about? That's like today when people call everybody they don't like a fucking Nazi. Like, do you know what that implies, man?
This isn't some tiny piece of background fluff, it's the entire tragedy of that game. And it only gets more insane from here, like Imogen needs to access a progenitor facility to try and repair her hyperspace cores. Karen had already been there, so she then locked it out, or something. As always, Imogen turns to her special lullaby.
Success. Pattern match found.
What?
How? System, explain.
Data corruption pattern is a 97.6% mathematical match to requested waveform.
Why does she look like that that emoji, you know, fucking emoji of the head from the Easter Isles? I can't, man. I fucking can't.
The lullaby is the key to all this. You know what? Fuck it. The voice is called the Incarnate Queen, and she wants to kill billions because she thinks that called the Incarnate Queen.
Quentin Tarantino fucking directed those cutscenes. Look at how fucking profiled her feet are, man. What the fuck? That has to be some kind of fetish thing.
And she wants to kill billions because she thinks that
Why the long face? The fact that it gets even worse after this is insane. I already kinda I literally kinda like checked out mentally, so a literal laughably bad story. Oh fuck yeah, man. Oh yeah.
navigators are superior to regular people. But the Queen needs even more cores for ultimate power, which Karen did have aboard the car Sejuk, so she's hidden it away somewhere. The Queen wants Imogen to find her so she gets access to the cores, but is also interested in Imogen as another navigator. So why was the Incarnate endlessly trying to kill her? Fuck if I know. Oh man.
So, it is you.
You always knew, clever girl.
It's the scene, and as far as I can tell, Imogen just gets big because she's confident now. I don't know, even people like Gnarly Gnome can do that. The Queen is maybe the reincarnation of her progenitor or something, it doesn't matter. She's incredibly childish. She declares herself the will of the universe, but wants Imogen and Karen to join her. She thinks she's wise and divine, but she's not.
What's up with all the feet in this fucking space? It's a game about spaceships, man. Why are there so many cutscenes where it's just giant feet? That is literally a fucking barely disguised fetish of the fucking writers, of the designers, or the... What? What the fuck, man?
And if anything, a bit of an idiot.
What would Karen's Sajet be if Carrick had not burned?
Yeah, Karen Sajet was a real fuck up until then. Believe it or not, I actually am filtering out all kinds of other stupid tangents, because there are just too many here. Like Isaac has a long argument with Imogen saying Karen can't possibly be alive, though we know that Unbound don't work that way. You kill the real War Sage, so the pirates weren't affiliated with the Incarnate, and it's never explained how they had control of hyper-
I didn't even notice that before. Like, don't get me wrong, it's not that prominent, like it's not Quentin Tarantino film prominent, you know? But it's insane that I could pick that out from some cutscenes in a fucking space RTS game, man. That's why it struck me, you know, as something very odd. Like, that wasn't there in fucking, you know, Homeworld also had Homeworld 1 and 2 also had, you know, the lady as the lead, but they never like shone fucking light on her feet to show them off, you know?
Space like that then. Imogen then apologizes for killing the War Sage, and the Queen says human lives don't matter like navigators do. She has this all-encompassing, gigantic cloak, but it's also clearly a large security blanket. The Queen is immature and insecure. Her own people hated and distrusted her after her own actions, so now she views common people as only being thralls, and the few navigators like her can be equals. They still both want to get to Karen, and Imogen tracks her down deep through an ice core. You watch the mothership go deeper and deeper, narrowly navigating through chasms of ice, when they finally find it.
Oh my god, it's the frisbee!
It's a gorgeous, emotional piece of music, but at this point, I'm just wondering why the ship is out in the open and we dug through all that ice. This isn't like Titan AE, it is right there.
Lady Karen, it's me, it's Imogen. I felt you calling me.
Yes, Imogen. I called out to you as soon as I sensed your presence.
You know, mysticism in Homeworld was a framework. It wasn't supposed to be actual magical things happening. When you think in space magic, you get scenes like this.
The lullaby. When you sent your distress call, I was only a child. How could you have known that I would find it?
I didn't know, Imogen, but I hoped.
The lullaby, man.
And here you are.
Fuck it. Karen just figured the 6-year-old she knew would one day grow up to be Fleet Command, and would follow in her footsteps, and also would still like that lullaby she taught her when she was a kid, and would then sing it to unlock the hyperspace repair thingy, and then track her down. Because she had faith in her when she was, like, watching Tigger. Fucking what? That's insane! This story is insane! I don't need to break down...
And not in a good way. Not in a good way is very important to underline here, you know? Because you can have an insane story and it be good, like Myth, you know? Like fucking Genesis Rising, I guess.
What's wrong about this? It's just obvious nonsense. It would be like me saying, yeah, I taught my neighbor's little kid the Dora the Explorer theme song, and then banked my entire plan on repairing an aircraft carrier for her to say, come on, Vamanos, 20 years later. There's more to unpack, but stuff like this puts it in the why bother category. Isaac gives Imogen a long speech where he's sorry for not trusting her. Then the next mission starts.
All ships, prepare to fire.
Isaac, no!
I need you to trust me now, Imogen.
It's circular, who cares? Imogen and Karen both show up because they're gonna plug the hyperspace cores into her big hyperspace ship thing. The Queen thinks since Imogen can make cores, they can have a new race of navigators, but that's not gonna happen. By overloading the cores, it causes a hyperspace something, and Karen sacrifices herself to die with the Queen. After destroying habitable worlds and killing billions, the truth is, she was just lonely. So her and Karen will hold hands.
He just made that up. He's fucking with me. He's personally fucking with me, right? Ain't no way. Ain't no way, man. Oh, where to even fucking begin with this? And she was a womwy. She was itsy bitsy womwy. She did a little bit of trolling because she was so womwy.
As they die in this magical, sparkly realm. And I'm sorry, but I don't feel that bad for Security Blanket Mega Hitler. I just don't. She blew up a whole planet to slow us down, even though she wanted us to go there. This is fucking nonsense. Who would have thought it would end this way? Oh, man. Oh, shit. That was a real edit. I didn't do that. None of this works because the Queen had nothing to tempt Imogen with. She was just kind of awkward and didn't hate her own people or was outcast or anything. She was just a little weird. The Queen wanted to take away the burden of caring about people, but she was saying let the burden remain right from the very start. They may be currently trapped beyond the gates, but now Imogen is happy and her hologram of Karen could sing the lullaby all the time. It's not just a bad story. It's a shockingly bad story. It's a kind I thought just did not exist anymore. Homeworld 3's story is like seeing a woolly mammoth in your yard and also realizing it has leprosy. It's the worst I've seen in a mainstream game in a long time. But hey, war games. This is what it's really all about.
War games, man. War games. No, he's serious. Oh my fucking god. War games, man. Oh look, it's the cool emblem, the non-canon emblem. So the end of the game also shuts down the hyperspace network, which means it ruins the ending of 2, it ruins the game. It was a direct sequel to. It also ruined the spin-off, it also ruined the franchise. Holy fuck, they were going for a hat trick, I guess.
Right? Skirmish is barely worth a mention.
He's so based for that. He's so based for this.
This is what it's really all about, right?
He's so based for this, man.
Skirmish is barely worth a mention because there are only 6 maps, 3 being 1v1s, no tech tree, or much of anything else there. You can play it, but
1v1 maps in a fucking RTS, man. That is crazy. That is insane. Yeah, man, I love playing my RTSs in a 1v1 setting, you know? With one friend. And you know what's best about 1v1s? You can use a little bit bigger maps that were meant for more players as a 1v1 map. Instead, make half of the maps 1v1. Yeah, sure, man. Pass the crack pipe, Pass the crack pipe, brother.
3 being 1v1s, no tech tree, or much of anything else there. You can play...
Not only does it ruin the ending of 2 and make Cataclysm non-canon, but you're stuck far from home and need to make it back. So we regressed back to the beginning of Homeward 1 somehow. The DLC is going to be like a Somta mining ship found an ancient distress beacon. Now we'll have a face-to-face interview with the captain.
But there's not much to it. War Games is meant for 3-player co-op, and you can do it solo.
Watch them remake the Cataclysm story, but so fucking more lame than Cataclysm was.
You're gonna be capturing a lot if you do that. This setup is easy. You complete objectives on a map, and then find or earn artifacts to upgrade your ships. These will unlock different upgrade branches and will change every time. As you level up or do challenges, you might unlock new kinds of artifacts or new starting fleet types. So as you go through a run, you could focus on what ships to upgrade and make something really fun and intuitive to use. For some reason, a lot of Homeworld's mechanics work more reliably in War Games. They're still pretty drunk, but it's like they're eating a burger or something now. For starters, this does need to be properly balanced for the number of players, because this will become a solo activity within a few years. Finding 2 friends to play Homeworld with is already tricky. Finding 2 friends to play Homeworld 3 with is going to be much harder. Currently, it's not very satisfying either, as you only run through 3 levels and then you're done. There are only 7 maps in total, and sometimes the final mission feels like it should be a middle mission. Like originally this would be 7 maps in a row, but they thought that would wear it out too quickly, so randomized it to try and give it more length. It's okay currently, but if they do polish up the mechanics and add all the stuff they said they would in the next year, it might be really fun. They are going to support modding too, so maybe there's future potential there as well. But there is something...
Man, I don't even want to read chat anymore because of the fucking messages. Like, in the end, the beast just wanted friends. Watch there be a beast faction going, Hygarians are friends, not food. This is just fucking depressing at this point, man. Like, oh man. Being acquired by Gearbox is the mind killer, you know. It's the fucking little death of surrounded by 15 writers overwriting your story into fucking garbage.
Deeply sad about seeing Homeworld becoming so multiplayer focused, and focused on a co-op game mode like this instead of Skirmish. The series always had great single player and multiplayer, but the fun here seems to be focused on the latter. It is fun synchronizing with your friends, coordinating taking objectives, making a balanced fleet, and discussing the story of Homeworld 3.
I never saw Karen as that. Like, she was important, yes, but she was never...
I've come to appreciate War Games more for that, because the game basically comes with its own built-in group therapy mode. If War Games does sound fun to you though, there's no reason to buy this now compared to waiting another year and seeing where it's at. In the end though, I can't recommend Homeworld 3. They could polish the gameplay up, add a fun multiplayer mode, a lot to Skirmish. The story is unsalvageable. This isn't the first series to go through this and won't be the last, but thankfully those old games are always there. When they first revealed the Kar-Kushan, in the in-game sense, I thought it was carrying on the spirit of all its people. On a meta level, I thought it would carry over things from all the Homeworld games before it. It's still a perfect representation of the game. It's sleek, but slimmed down. It's thinly imitating something that came before it. And deep in the core of it, there's a madness that will slowly be revealed to you. From all the delays and massive layoffs, it's clear something was going wrong during development. It could be there was once something better, or maybe this was salvaged from an even bigger mess. All I know is, I'm glad this is over.
What a bittersweet note to end on. Holy shit, man.
There is no withdrawal from the garden.
There is no escape from Gearbox. It's be acquired and be laid off. There is no becoming an independent studio making middle-sized games. Be acquired and die. Be acquired and have your flagship franchise become mediocre at best. It's so weird that Homeward designates it. It's so weird that Homeward designates its non-canon spin-off using numbers. Yeah, man, like Homeward literally nothing, and Homeward Cataclysm are like seem like the only canon entries into this fucking franchise. So Gearbox is the beast. Yeah, with the and it's like it is like Cataclysm, you know. The studios that remain need to unionize against the beast before it swallows them. In the end, the real Homeward 3 was the Genesis Rising we found along the way. Yeah, man. In the end, the real Homeward 3 was the giant women that were gigantified by the fucking Genesis Rising, The Rock, something. I fucking hate Gearbox. Actually, somebody should... Actually, I'm not gonna end the sentence because that would make me legally accountable if somebody went and did that, but somebody should mail something to the CEO of Gearbox, man. Genesis Rising was better, gotta give it that. It was certainly more interesting, I suppose. Oh man. It's you know, too bad they never made Homeward like into a franchise. Too bad it's stuck in a like 20 years ago, you know. Just gotta go with that mindset, you know. It doesn't exist. It can't hurt me. So yeah, that's it for Homeward 3 review by MandaloreGaming. What more can I say, ladies and gentlemen? What words can I fucking put in here that will make any of this make sense or make it better? I guess fuck Gearbox. Oh my god. Please take Risk of Rain away from them, man. Oh my god. Why did they acquire Risk of Rain? I can't wait for Risk of Rain 3, man. They should make a whole story mode with like in-depth cutscenes to make the rest of the lore of that franchise fucking shit. So yeah, for those of you later watching this on YouTube, I'm sorry, first of all. Second of all, thank you for sticking out this long with me, you know, for supporting the channel, and see you in the next one. Hopefully something better. Hopefully better than this, man. I didn't want to believe that it was this bad. Like, I thought I was prepared, you know, but oh my god, nothing can prepare you for this. Holy. There's a Risk of Rain mobile gacha game? Are you fucking kidding me? Oh man. Oh fuck. So yeah, that's another one of the list. And sadly, I'm not gonna continue to Journeyman Project or Planet of the Apes 2001. Not because of the homeworld, although that is pretty bad. It's just getting really hot in my apartment by now, you know, the sun, the fucking earth is burning. The sun is getting pretty, you know, it's getting pretty hot out there, so I gotta get some fans going and like drink some cool water and things like that, which will inevitably ruin like the audio or visual experience of the thing. So I just wanna okay, it is like literally the newest thing he uploaded. Just gonna add it to watch later. And probably watch it between those two other videos I have. Still no Oni. I'm still waiting for that fucking Oni. I've been waiting for that Oni review for like months now. You know, Mandalore gotta give it the proper respect that it deserves. Risk of Rain mobile sucked hard. You're talking like that exists. That doesn't exist. You made it up, man. Fun stream. Yeah, thank you all for being here. Thank you for subjecting me to Homeworld 3. And I'm glad, like I mentioned, I mentioned that, Mandalore made this Homeworld 3 review, and supposedly it's like a really popular thing. And like you all went, you should watch all of his videos and Genesis Rising. And at first I was like, that's a kind of a tall order. But now that we went through this journey, it was well fucking worth it. Twists and turns, highs and lows, feet and giant women, you know. We had it all. We had it all and we lost it all. And you know what they say, you shouldn't ask for too much of a thing. Greed is the franchise killer. Oh, at least I'm free now, yeah. Watch them announce fucking DLC for Homeworld 3, and Mandalore will have to actually play Mandalore is the real victim. Like, he has to play this shit. Like, I'm sitting here, you know, maybe I will play Homeworld 1 and Cataclysm, and maybe 2. I mean, Remastered Collection is 1 and 2, so Remastered Collection and Cataclysm, but fuck, why even think about Homeworld 3? He had to play it. He's the real victim of all of this, you know. He truly got crucified by Gearbox for our sins, or sins of asking for... sins of the Homeworld community for asking for more games, man. God damn. What an innocent sin to commit, you know. Just wanting a little bit more. And then Gearbox, like with the monkey's paw coming out of the fucking fog. With the USB with a porn on it in the other hand. Fucking Randy Pitchford. Just staring you down. Oh man, I gotta get out of here. I gotta get out of here. Thank you for joining me on the stream. For our sons and sinners, man. Sons and sinners. That's what they were talking about. Oh, thank you all for joining me. It truly was a fun stream. And yeah, I will see you, you know, on the next one, whether that might be. Yeah, have a great one out there, my friends, and remember to drink plenty of water. I don't know how's the temperature in your like local area, but yeah. It's nice and sunny, and by that I mean, holy fuck, standing out in direct sunlight is like asking for a heat stroke. So yeah, be careful.